My fellow Americans, let me begin by congratulating the team at NASA and our brave astronauts on the successful launch of Artemis 2. It was quite something. It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home from a distance.
Due to that suit being pressurized and expanded, as well as the umbilical.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. What is it? Friday the 10th of April. We're live and exclusive across the United Kingdom. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brit. What are you doing on this Friday morning? Are you on the way up and out already? Are you on the road? Are you heading back from the night shift? We want to hear from you. We want your opinions on the news of the day. 0344 499 1000 is the only number you need. Tommy is here. Brilliant. Taking the calls. We'll do your voice notes to Christian. 87222. Start your message with the word talk if you'd like to text. Sam's the Charlton fans hitting the buttons. Nehar's doing the business. And we've got some unexpectedly cool-looking newspaper reviewer who's blowing his nose. Listen, I always say I don't want to start with Keir Starmer, but hey, it's not great news for the Prime Minister this morning. Oh, dear. A new poll says, there's a surprise, that almost two-thirds of voters want him to resign immediately, and a similar number want a general election. The only thing I take from that is 33.3% of this country don't want Starmer to resign. What's wrong with you? 0344 499 1000. Finally showed a bit of backbone yesterday. He kicked back. He said that I'm fed up with Donald Trump. And then he said, do you know what? We shouldn't be at mercy of events abroad. I'm about Great Britain. I'm just not going to react about things abroad. That's the same Prime Minister admitted the day before that we'd taken down 110 drones and flown, what, 1,600 hours of defensive operation. This is also the Prime Minister who pledged billions to Ukraine and committed boots on the ground. So I don't know what he means. But anyway, you're all fed up with him, and he's fed up with Donald Trump, which is fantastic. Great moment yesterday. I'm not saying great. This government. You see, the Defence Secretary, John Healey, there's this Russian, boats and submarines, all of that. And he went, it's on the front of the mirror. I rarely use the mirror, but there we go. We see you, Vlad. Like, this was an amazing moment for the Labour, Defence Secretary to say, we're watching you. Of course we all see him, John Healey. Dan Hodges tweeted this. This is brilliant. We've all seen the Russian boat just going through the channel. We all know they're there. It's just that we haven't got anything to do about it. And while I'm on it, I might as well tell you Red Ed's having a hard morning as well, which is fantastic, because it's like a threesome. That didn't sound right. OpenAI. See, Charlie, you have to just lower the tone on a Friday.
My eyes lit up.
Yes, of course
my
they
ears
did.
pricked up.
Yes. Red Ed strikes again. He's blamed as OpenAI pulls out a £31 billion investment due, ready for this? We're not going to invest in the North East. It would have created jobs. It was all about trade. Energy costs too high. Totally down to this ludicrous government's net zero madness. So that's what you're waking up to. And I'll just give you a personal take, which a couple of people think I might be right. You know, this Melania Trump sort of comes out in the White House and comes up with a speech yesterday saying, I never had a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. And everybody's going, why has she done that? What? Apparently, Donald Trump said he was blindsided, which tells me absolutely and utterly that this was planned. And I'm going to tell you what I think, and Charlie Rowley, straight in with you this morning with this. I think it's going so badly for Donald Trump in Iran that he said to Melania, things are so bad you need to bring up Epstein again and push them off track. I'm being completely serious. I mean, things are not great if you need to start talking about Epstein to detract from Iran. Of course he knew she was going to do it.
Yeah, for everybody in the terms of the media and, well, the world stage, completely.
Do you think I'm right or wrong? I could be wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think, look, you're right. This is a man who, when you've seen him in interviews, before he actually conducts any kind of media interview, he places the glass of water there. He might have a bit of tissue on top. he is so particular. This is a television guy after all, someone who's made absolutely fortunes and celebrity status on the back of The Apprentice in America. But he is a TV mogul. He's a
he knows
reality
television.
TV
He knows
star.
television.
So he will know the look or how he wants things to look and the feed of things. And you're absolutely right. There is no way that given that meticulous amount of detail he puts on those interviews that he didn't know that his own wife was going to give a press conference where a lectern was laid out
in
for
the middle of the White House.
In the middle of the White House.
Yeah.
He knew it was going on.
I think things must be bad if you're rehashing Jeffrey Epstein, the world's worst paedophile, who, nothing more needs to be said. But I think that's very interesting. Let's get to it, Charlie. I know you're shocked. Page 8 of the Daily Telegraph, a fantastic Daily Telegraph. I'll fill whilst I'm trying to find it. It's not great reading for the Keir Starmer. A poll this morning says that 2/3 of voters want him to resign immediately. And the same number would like a general election. My only take on that is, where are the... I haven't met any of the 33% who want him to stay.
Yes, it's a funny old poll because, even though you have in every category of sort of demographics and ages people saying that they want the Prime Minister to resign, still people will say to you, and they do, because, we've done this for a while now, they'll message in and say, but it could be so much worse.
Yep.
But yet, people want the Prime Minister out. They think on the back of the local elections, the predictions in the Telegraph, you're right, that, that they could lose over, 1,000 or so councillors.
5,000 council seats. We can't talk specifically, but I was reading overnight, there was an article in the Mail from Nigel Farage, and he was saying that even he is amazed. He said, I used to think he was an OK man. I'm amazed at how this guy, Starmer, has capitulated. He isn't a leader. He is completely and utterly ramshackle by his own party, and he doesn't really have... I mean, God, I've said it every single day. Just doesn't seem to have it, does he?
No. And the election was only not even 2 years in. This is a guy that has a huge majority, an overwhelming majority in Parliament, and yet you're right. When it comes to the polling, like we're talking about just now, his polling has tanked. Nigel Farage is obviously up. The Greens are obviously up. Kemi Badenoch's polling is up. These are parties that should be nowhere near power.
Can I call him out? I am. I know this is... If you are a Green supporter, sorry. He's mad. Front page of The Amazing Sun today, Zach Polanski, and he's off his head. He now wants to ban horse riding, right? A £4 billion business. I will sit here and defend horse racing until the cows come home. I know the analogy wasn't great, but I know what I meant. Unbelievable. Times, because it's Grand National Weekend, of course. I do think that more of the politicians in the Tory party and the Liberal Democrats in Reform, whichever party, need to have a serious look at how they attack this man. Legalise heroin.
Yep.
70% tax, open the borders and give anybody a house to the detriment of the British public. He's going to attack dog owners. You won't be able to go over 55 miles an hour. He's going to ban horse riding. I'm sorry, Starmer, no good. The Tories, no good. If this man... How is 20% of the country falling for this?
Well, the only reason I can think of is the same reason why there's that percentage of people that you talked about that are still supporting Labour or still want the Prime Minister to say, because there is nobody else.
People will make their own minds up. I just find it extraordinary. Like I find it extraordinary with some of the policies of the government. Like I find it extraordinary that some of the stuff that... Somebody told me this morning some other party were against... Who is it against zoos? I don't know whether these people understand what the British public are going through.
No, you're absolutely right. And when things are so desperate, when people wake up in the morning, when they feel as though that they're going to work, they're paying their bills, they're paying their taxes, they're playing by the rules, they're doing the right thing, working 2 or 3 jobs to put food on the table, all the while they see all the other families maybe down the street that are claiming benefits that are not working, that might not even be here legally, that have got a hotel, that have got their dental treatment, that they've got their appointment with the NHS doctors. These are people who are taking us for a ride. And when you feel that the government is not on your side, you look to the extreme. And it's not funny, but you could be forgiven for thinking, you know what, why not? Why not? Someone comes along and says, let's legalise heroin. Is that what we've come to? Let's go with it.
I watched Hannah Spencer, and she won that democratically, and she sort of appealed to those voters. I don't care if you're diametrically opposed, but I don't understand why when they're arguing about so much amongst themselves, that the Greens seem to have sort of avoided scrutiny to a degree.
Yeah.
And that sort of... And you look at reform, which of course flew and has now sort of retracted a little bit. And you say to yourself, maybe there is just massive frustration in this country. Maybe, as you say, that in those moments anybody thinks of anything, really. I don't know.
Yeah, and look, all you have to do when you've got a Prime Minister that is just not a good communicator, that can't even seem to get a decision right, can't even make a decision without you-turning, you then have someone that comes along on the left, because obviously the Labour Party on the left-hand side...
Would you say the Green Party is... I mean, you're a political expert, that's what it says here. Are they far left? Are they what the Labour Party is, or was, rather, I should say?
I would say that the Green Party are the extreme left of things now. I mean, look, they've got to make up their mind who they're going after in terms of votes, so they can campaign on issues like in Gordon and Denton, like with Hannah Spencer, that was going for...
and she won it fair and square.
Yeah, but there's a heavily Muslim population there who are obviously pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine, and she played to that vote. But 2 or 3 weeks later, she was appearing on stage with, the LGBTQIA, HMRC, DFS, 118, 118, 24/7 community, dancing around next to someone, a man in a tank top, with bleach blue hair, whatever it was. By the way, advocating, as I would, to LGBT rights, but I do think that people in Gordon and Denton, who, or some of the culture within some of the Gordon and Denton constituency is pro-LGBT rights. Some of the culture within some of the faiths in our country aren't even pro-women going to school.
Somebody said to me the other day that the right is terrified that... in its entirety, and people start to say, should reform and the Tories do a pact, because think of the left alliance, Labour, the Greens, the Liberal Democrats. I would simply only say this: can you imagine those three parties being able to write a manifesto? I mean, it wouldn't work. But there was a thing in the paper yesterday: this country has never been more fractured since Brexit than it is now, and I think that's absolutely true. And I'll repeat this: I don't care what somebody's political. I just want everybody to vote. I want everybody to have an opinion. I want everybody to invest, because it's a really important time for the country. But not great really for the PM this morning. A new poll says that 2/3 of you want him to resign immediately, and 2/3 of you would like a general election. Morning, boss.
Morning, JK and the breakfast team. Travelling boss here. So straight away, we're on the subject of our leader. The man is deluded. Get rid of him. He's not wanted by anybody.
Not wanted by anybody. You do say to yourself, if you're Starmer, I mean, I don't know whether he does say this to himself, what does the future hold? Let's also talk about the fact that he finally bit back at Trump last night, saying he's fed up with the president. Let's play him. It's 6:15. I've missed him. Morning, Kia.
I'm fed up with the fact that families across the country see their bills go up and down on energy, businesses' bills go up and down on energy, because of the actions of Putin or Trump across the world.
Now, I take exception to that, right? I'm absolutely fine with him showing a bit of backbone, but there's a common denominator in that. He says, I am fed up for British working families and their energy bills. The fact of the matter is, we know our energy bills have had a bit of a spike, certainly petrol, because of this war. But overall, our energy bills have gone up since Labour came to power because of their mad obsession with net zero. The story in the paper today that is completely relevant: Ed strikes again. Miliband is blamed this morning as OpenAI, I don't know if you heard this at the top of the show, pulls out of a £31 billion UK investment due to high energy costs in a huge blow to Labour's bid to make Britain an AI superpower. Well done, Ed. Tony Blair tells him, even Tony Blair tells him, you need to drill in the North Sea. This week as well saw Rachel Reeves say. So it's very rich for Starmer, and I'm not sticking up for Trump, and I'm not saying that he was wrong, actually, in not getting involved initially. The basis, he should have done that quicker. But it's very interesting. Suddenly it's about working people and energy bills. Do you remember when he put out on X some months ago, your energy bills have gone down under Labour, and they do a community note, which is apparently, you've lied, within about 11 minutes, and it said, no, they're actually £76 more expensive than when you came in. He's now going to blame the war, I suspect, the conflict in the Middle East, on everything. They need to look a bit... Ed Miliband and net zero are massively to blame by this, with where this country is, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. And look, there are two things in particular that the Tories are trying to charge the Prime Minister with. One, they say that the Prime Minister just blames everybody else for any decision that's made, any U-turn that has to be performed. The Prime Minister can't take responsibility. And again, he's blaming, in this particular case, I think you're right, Putin and Trump in terms of the energy bills. That might be right to an extent.
Yep,
but
spiked a little bit.
But then you as the Prime Minister have got to react to that. So what are you going to do to help bring British taxpayers' bills down? And you're absolutely right. You either start drilling in the North Sea with gas and oil, which we have the reserves, which even Tony Blair, as you say, is now advocating.
Even Tony Blair.
And the second charge is that Ed Miliband is running the show behind the scenes. And this could be the guy in a few weeks' time, if it all goes a bit wrong for the Labour Party in terms of their local elections, and that poll that people are talking about in the Telegraph actually comes to fruition where the Prime Minister has to resign. They're going to have a leadership contest. It could be Ed Miliband running the show to placate the left of the party, to placate the Green vote that we were just talking about, where Zach Polanski is on the rise. Ed Miliband could be sitting in number 10 Downing Street, where everybody from Tony Blair, John Swinney, the SNP leader in Scotland, Kemi Badenoch, Nigel Farage, Octopus UK, Energy UK, Octopus Energy, sorry, everybody, the GMB Union, have all come out to say you need to start drilling in the North Sea, you need to provide those licences, you need to do what you can to bring energy bills down now. And if you don't do that, you're going to see more people with higher bills. You can say, OK, I've taken off £150 of your energy bills because we scrapped some of the Green Levy. What the UK taxpayer, what the Treasury, I should say, gets in addition to your bill, which is investing in green energy, that's gone, supposedly. But in June, Ofgem, the energy regulator, is raising its cap. So bills are going to go up. So it's pointless saying, we've taken £150 off.
He's doing it now. That's Charlie Rowley's impression. Can we do that again?
Oh, you're taking £150 off your energy bill. When actually, I've got a terrible bout of hay fever this morning, hence the blowing of the nose this morning. But bills are going up. That is the reality.
I completely agree.
And as I say, when you're Ed Miliband, you've got to ask yourself, even if you're the Prime Minister, you've got to ask your Energy Secretary, if all of those people, even Rachel Reeves has come around to the idea.
Absolutely.
So all of these people are now saying to Ed Miliband, you need to change course. He's being clearly stuck in his ways, dogmatic and not wanting to change. If you can't change the policy, you've got to change the personnel, surely, Prime Minister.
6:20 Friday morning. We're live across the UK. This is Talk Breakfast. If you want to be on the home of common sense, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. So, it's not great reading for Starmer this morning. 2/3 of you would like him to resign immediately, and 2/3 of you would like a general election. He's apparently discovered backbone overnight. Where's that? Oh, yeah, I've got it. I'm fed up with Trump, and I'm fed up with Putin, and I'm fed up with everybody affecting the good working people. Alarm Clock Britain. I'm waiting for him to say Alarm Clock Britain, in which case I'll give up about it. He says energy costs, it's all about what's going on. No, it's about net zero, mate. Now, Matt has sent us a voice note, but it would be fair to say I'm not so sure about Alarm Clock Brid. He's either got hay fever or he's just got out of bed. Morning, Matt.
Morning, Jezza. Matt in Warrington, just making me brew before I go off to do a bit. Day in the van. So I looked at the news this morning, Starmer's saying it's time to draw a line in the sand and build up our forces. Well, they used to say Boris was guff and blunder and waffle. This man makes Boris look like the most sensible person that's ever lived. He's got no backbone for war. He's got no backbone to stand up to anyone. Unless you're an immigrant or you've got 15 kids and you're on benefits, you mean nothing to him in this country. He's a disgrace. This Labour Party is a disgrace. It's embarrassing. And the Green Party, they're sticking their head above the parapet, and good, so they should, because they're showing what a bunch of whoppers they are too. Anyway, have a great day. Cheers, Jezza.
Do you know, I do love to hear from Matt of a morning, because it does make me realise that if I thought it was miserable, he manages to make me feel a little bit better about myself. Bless him, making the brew before he gets in the van, working Brits. That's what we're talking about.
Yep, on a Friday afternoon.
Well, it's Friday morning.
Friday morning, sorry. I feel
Have you been out all night?
No, I haven't.
Are you sure?
I'm quite sure.
Good. 6:21, good morning to Jay, who says, just heard on the news that the IMF says there will be a diesel and jet fuel shortage. I think Crazy Ed and the rest of the Muppets will play on this to make sure people go along with their views and buy electric cars. This is what I'm saying. It is true that everybody says, don't they? Of course we want to be cleaner and we want the environment to be fine. But we're in a financially really impossible position, which means we have to do the right thing. Matt's in Cumbria, he says, Jez, reform will soon become irrelevant. Restore is going much faster. Rupert Lowe speaks for many more people than Farage. Please do read this out. I read out everything, Matt. Good morning to Joanna in Salisbury. This is the story of the Defence Secretary, John Healey, yesterday, who said, because there was a Russian ship in the channel, and he said, we've got submarines. Oh, look, here, look. We see you, Vlad. Actually, let's play the clip even better. This is John Healey. Brilliant.
And to President Putin, I say, we see you. We see your activity over our cables and our pipelines. And you should know that any attempt to damage them will not be tolerated and will have serious consequences.
As Joanna says, of course we see them, right? We've got a boat in the channel. We've only got one boat, HMS Dragon, and that still hasn't got to Cyprus. But I was out yesterday afternoon. I did a golf thing with Henry, and one of the mothers said to me, I love the programme, she said. Dragging your feet still hasn't got there. I went, I know, just came up to me and said it. Ludicrous. 0344 499 1000. Get involved. Have your views on the news, on the phones and on the voice notes, and you also text us. And we'll do more about defence in a tick. Coming back in 3.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:25. This is Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock break. It is Friday morning. JK on the show. Good morning, Charlie Rowley.
Good morning. Good morning, not good afternoon.
Well done, jolly good. The Navy, this is Telegraph, page 1, right? This is brilliant. This is it. Navy barred from boarding Russian ships in the Channel. So we've got a Russian boat in the Channel, which John Healey, the Defence Secretary, says, we can see you. Brilliant. So can everybody who lives on the coast, John. And we're not allowed to board them. Boris jumped in. He said Britain would win respect for boarding Russian ships. What's this story about?
Well, I think Boris is absolutely right.
Why can't we board them?
Because of a fear of breaking international law, boarding a foreign vessel's...
Are they not breaking international law in our waters?
Absolutely, absolutely. But according to the Telegraph, Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, has given legal advice about the ships that could be tackling British waters to prevent the flow of sanctioned ships.
Not the water, not the flow of the water.
No. But the flow of the ships sort of passing through. It's ludicrous because we are now in a situation where we have not displayed the best of our military
We haven't got a military.
When it comes to when we've seen in obviously what's happened with Iran. We couldn't deploy HMS Dragon, as you say, Dragon of Fleet.
Do you know where that is, by the way?
For 3 weeks. It's not. Well, it is in Cyprus, but it's been stood down because
no, it's not in Cyprus. It never reached Cyprus. This is what the other woman said. The woman yesterday on the golf course came from behind a tree because I'm following H and her son's playing in the same group, and she went about the boat and she went, "It's in the East Mediterranean. It's docked up because it's got a problem with sanitation."
Yes.
That is our only warship, and whatever your politics, and people will vote as they see fit, right? I mean, what does that say about Britain that once... I mean, our Navy used to be the envy of the world, didn't it?
Well, absolutely, rule Britannia.
Well done.
Absolutely. But John Healey obviously made... I think an attempt to recover the situation by flying to Akatiri, sort of our RAF base in Cyprus, ahead of HMS Dragon, to say to the people there, look, I'm the Defence Secretary, I'm here, I'm seeing what it's all about, we are supporting the people there in the RAF base, but couldn't answer a single question about when HMS Dragon would arrive, what other resources were available, what he was doing operationally to deploy the resources to that region. Now he's come out to sort of distract the country, I think, not too dissimilar to Melania Trump, you might argue. When the Prime Minister's in the Middle East, I imagine making the teas, for
Charlotte's on it today.
A negotiation that we had no part to play in, and didn't broker any deal or ceasefire there. But the Prime Minister felt the need to sort of hop on a plane.
Oh, but then he called it "we are doing it." Is there nothing to do with it? And then it was "we."
We have worked. Yes,
we have work to do on something that I wanted nothing to do with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And now the Defence Secretary is saying, making a threat to Russia to say, obviously, we see you, we see what you're doing. They monitor our underground cables, which obviously carries a lot of data, sensitive,
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused because I don't understand him in any which way. Herma, the Attorney General, has looked at the human rights laws or the whatever laws and gone, it would be wrong for us to, hear me out, board Russian ships because that would go against international law. But somebody like Herma will not answer the question if they, in a ship, are going over cables that have sensitive information about the United Kingdom, are they not breaking international? Why is international law always used, in my opinion, love to hear from you on this, to the detriment of Great Britain, whether it's its people or the country?
Yep. It seems to me that his view, Lord Herma's view, is that we have to wait until... it's a bit like being burgled. You have to wait until the...
everything's nicked to call the police.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. You have to wait until somebody enters your property before the police will even come out and do something about it.
They are in our waters.
Yeah, they're in our waters, but they're not. They're passing through. They might be over our cables, but they're not cutting our cables.
What is wrong with Herma? How is that ridiculous?
I know lots of people would agree. Totally. And that's why Boris Johnson, I think, Boris is
responsible for the Boris wave,
and now a newspaper sort of columnist, I think, every Saturday in the Mail. But he is a former Prime Minister.
Yes.
If he's saying, actually, you can do something about it, the government should do something about it, then again, it calls into the question the government's decision-making and the advice it's getting. And we always used to say, obviously, you get lawyers all the time that come up with an argument for not to do something. If you don't like the illegal advice, get a better lawyer.
But hold on a second. If I was in that position and I said to Herma, that's one side of the argument. They are breaking international law. He would say, we've got no proof of that yet.
Yeah. Yes.
It's always... Am I right or wrong? It seems to always be against the Brit.
Yeah.
It always seems to be against this country. Morning, Sean.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby here. When I got home from work last night to help contribute towards my next-door neighbour's benefit bill, I see the Prime Minister on the TV saying he's fed up of Donald Trump and Putin raising our energy bills. Well, I'll tell you what I'm fed up of, mate. I'm fed up of long before this Iran stuff, our energy bills continuous going up through green taxes, through things like having solar panels all over the place in a country that literally rains for 9 months of the year. It's dark for another 6 months of them, right? We hardly ever get a summer. These Labour politicians, they're repeating the exact same things that the Tories did. Blame everybody else and do nothing about anything. They're idiots. Great show, Jeremy. Keep it up, mate.
You know, that we have to try and offer balance on this show, and whatever my views or yours. Listen, Ed Miliband, I point this out, is today being blamed that there's this big business coming to the northeast called OpenAI, £31 billion, loads of investment in this country, great for the northeast, lots of jobs. It has been pulled by its bosses overnight because they say the high energy costs of this country are a reason not to invest, which is a massive blow to Labour. But let's hear how Ed Miliband still says net zero is the answer.
Countries around the world emulated us. We've got this mission, clean power by 2030. If we achieve that, and I'm absolutely determined we do, other countries will say, look what Britain's been able to do. We can do that too. So let's not have a diminished view of Britain. We really matter in this. So many countries come to me and say, you've got a really important responsibility here.
Charlie Rowley, so I don't combust. Help me out.
Well, it might be the case that countries come to Ed Miliband and to the UK to try and emulate what we had, which was net zero in legislation. It might be that other people in the Green lobby, the climate change committees of whatever organisation, come to the UK to say, oh, you legislated for net zero to be carbon free by 2030 or 2050, net zero by 2050. Oh, what great work you're doing. That's fine. That probably does happen. But what I say to Ed Miliband is, what about your constituents in Doncaster or anywhere else across the country that comes to you to say, my energy bills are too high, I'm struggling, I need my bills to come down? Not interested in other countries around the world or any other climate change committees that want to emulate what great work the UK that might have had in legislation, which might have been an interesting idea, a good thought for the future, to have a greener, cleaner planet. That's fine. But actually, when we have a crisis now, and when everyone else on the political spectrum, I talked about it before, from Johnny Swinney from the SNP to Nigel Farage in Reform, Kemi Badenoch, even the Chancellor in the Labour Party, are all saying we need to change course, we need to bring energy bills come down. I'm not interested in other countries. I'm interested in constituents and people in this country that want their bills to come down. Why is Ed Miliband not listening to them?
I couldn't agree more. And when ideology surpasses common sense, then we're in trouble. And one wonders whether he's prepared politically to die on that altar of ideology, because I can't see, excuse the pun, I can't see the green shoots. He sits there and he says, it will be a great thing. But if you said to him, and I've never spoken to Ed Miliband, but I want to say to him, you've got your ideology, but you are going to bankrupt the United Kingdom. And whilst you talk about it will create jobs, and in the end, that's in the end. What about the here and now, Ed? Yep. Here and now is what people are concerned about because they're finding it so difficult. One of Susan, she says, I'm so insulted by Starmer's comments about being fed up on our behalf about the cost of living crisis and all being the fault of this war. What planet is this man on? We are not fueled by his crass insincerity. We are all perfectly aware that the cost of living crisis is due to him and his useless bunch of cabinet numpties. And I think you'll see a lot of that now. I think you'll see a lot of people say, he's just going to use the war as an excuse for the incompetence that the Labour Party have shown. Good morning, Jezza and Charlie, a.k.a. Hinge and Bracket. What a lovely duo. Do you remember Hinge and Bracket?
No, but I do remember someone else calling us.
You need to go and Google this during the next break and work out whether you are Hinge or Bracket. Miliband needs to be sacked, if he's got the courage, of course. It's the only way drilling will start. Great show, but even better when you're both there, says Tony from Sussex. David Thomas, I know. Very good morning, David. The Greens, the current Green Party is at its peril, caught in the Muslim bloc vote, when who once in power's position will elbow these people out the way. That's their philosophy. You could be dead right. Morning, Jez. Reform will soon become irrelevant. We've done that already. 0344 499 1000. Charlie, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Charlie. It's Charlie and George on our way to work again, helping to pay that 40 billion welfare bill, as usual. I'm just sick of Keir Starmer, just sick of his lies. When he tells you a lie, you know he's lying. He's like a 14-year-old that's been caught smoking. Before he was elected, he told us all not one penny would go up on our council tax, and it has. Let's just hope we don't end up with a coalition of Keir Starmer and Zach Piano Teeth, because we'll be right in trouble then. Over and out.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, lovely. 22 minutes to 7 o'clock on a Friday morning as the sun rises. Well, the sun's struggling to rise across the United Kingdom. Wherever you are, I'm not trying to be depressing. I think after today, winter's back. I mean, it was nice for a while. I had my shorts on.
Did you?
Yes. Do you know, somebody ran past me and said they'd seen better legs hanging out of a nest, which I thought was a bit unfair. 0344 499 1000. You're waking up to the news that Keir Starmer, not great reading for him this morning, peeps. 2/3 of the United Kingdom in a poll want him to resign immediately and call a general election, which begs the question, where are the other 33%? But he bit back last night. He says he's fed up with Donald Trump. And he says he wants the working people of Britain to know that your energy costs are solely due to the war in Iran. It's a lie, though, isn't it, to be honest? Ed Miliband and he having to deal this morning with the fallout of open AI. This was an enormous opportunity for the North East. Great investment for the United Kingdom and a huge blow to Labour's bid to make Britain an AI superpower. 31 billion quid pulled by the bosses. We're not coming to Britain because your energy costs are too high. You heard Ed Miliband. He's not deviating. He believes that being carbon-free and whatever else free it is, by 2030, 2050 or never is more important than fiscal responsibility, which is extraordinary. Just the other thing I want to say to you as well, the Defence Secretary yesterday being ridiculed because he said, Vladimir, we see you. Mr Putin, be warned, we see you. Of course, we see them as a bloody Russian boat going past the cliffs of Dover. Morning, Adrian.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Charlie. This is Adrian from East Sussex again. Quick question for Charlie. Has he still got his white trainers on with his dark suit? Starmer and the Russians' military vessel escorting a tanker through British territorial waters, and our Defence Secretary saying, we will punish you with what? Trump has demonstrated to the world that the UK and probably most of the EU are virtually defenceless because they are being led by absolute woke morons.
Could I just let's call this morning Fed Up Friday. Has anybody got anything positive to say about the world? Because I feel their pain, and I don't just Christian. I set this up. I completely understand if you're up, Charlie, and you're at it, and you do 10, 12 hours, and you pay all these bills, and you come home to another bill, and you just hear these inane politicians going, it's Iran's fault. No, it's incompetence. We need a politician or politicians who not only speak, actually don't speak to at the people, speak for them, speak with them, try and understand what everybody's thinking. You know, you stand there and go, we see you, Vladimir. Of course we see you, Vladimir. I think net zero is a great idea because it will bankrupt the country. That's not a good idea. The concept, the thought, the ideology might appeal. I'm too old. My kids can sort it. But right now we're skint, and that's the important thing. By the way, did you know that the Defence Secretary and the Prime Minister over Easter were out of the country on holiday?
Yes. And
I mean, I don't know what you think about that because people have to. I am about to go on holiday, but the point is, I mean, they're all right. It's very stressful, and I've got 6 kids. But the truth is, do you not need to be about at a crucial moment?
Well, I know they're all for closer ties with the EU, and the Prime Minister, I think, was still in Spain on his last day of the Easter holiday when Trump called for the ceasefire.
Is that where he went? Spain?
I think he was in Spain. He's and the Defence Secretary.
Where do you think it was? Benidorm or somewhere like that?
That's where I'm going.
Is it?
I am going there. Yes.
When are you going?
Next week.
Are you? How long for?
Only a few days. Long weekend.
Speedos or swimming shorts?
Well, either.
Neither.
Oh,
no,
either or neither. You decide.
Oh dear. 0344 499 1000. Cliff in Berkshire. There would be a certain irony, would there not, if Miliband did become Prime Minister by default in May, given that the electorate resoundingly rejected him when he did lead the party.
Well, exactly. You know, but that's how desperate maybe the Labour Party would be to reach to someone that's already had a go. But everything that you just said, by the way, I think, and the reason why people are so angry and why it is Fed Up Friday is I'm just trying to drop down a little list
of happiness.
But you know, just why is people so fed up, and why is the polling that we were talked about before, where people want this government out, they want the Prime Minister to resign. It's been less than 2 years since Labour came.
21 months.
21 months on the back of a huge majority that Labour Labour got. And they promised growth, they promised to get rid of the sleaze and scandal of the past. The Prime Minister stood on the steps of Number 10 and said, we're going to tread lighter on your lives in terms of regulation. And all we've seen since then was an increase in national insurance contribution for businesses. Energy bills have gone up. Welfare spending is now up. 333 billion spent on welfare versus 331 billion that we get in. So we're paying more on benefits than what the Exchequer actually receives in terms of its income tax. Our defence has been depleted. We're seeing closer ties with the EU, so more money going there.
Winter fuel taken away. Down?
I did. Winter fuel taken away on the very first day. Jury trials have been scrapped. The attack on farmers. Everybody is feeling the squeeze. Everybody is feeling the pinch. And all that is going to happen is that bills are going up. Inflation is not coming down.
Absolutely.
And this is why Britain is now so fed up of a government that cannot blame Iran, that cannot blame Donald Trump, that cannot blame anyone but themselves.
The Tories for 14 years, everybody look in the mirror and talk honesty to the people. Well, that's nice. Fed Up Friday. Is there any... Oh, God.
Apart from that, though, it's all going incredibly well.
Apart from all of that, it's fantastic. Let's have a bit of fun. What have I got? I haven't got tangerine today. Voice note. Tell me something to be happy about on Fed Up Friday. It's Fed Up Friday, according to you lot. Is there anything at all? I mean, maybe we set the tone by moaning every day. Maybe we need to change. Maybe we need to come on and go, Britain's in a great state. You see, we can't, because there's...
No.
Could you do me a favour? Could you look in the papers and see if you can find anything good at all? Meanwhile, across to Los Angeles, we say a very good morning to an integral part of the team. Good morning, Kinsey Schofield.
I mean, I guess some good news is I fit into an old pair of jeans. Oh, that I was really excited about. That's like some good news, I guess.
Sorry, you found an old pair of jeans?
No, I fit. You know how you save old clothes that you outgrow? Just like, oh, please let me fit into this again. I did it. I fit into an old pair of jeans.
This is presumably to impress the new love of your life from Bravo, is that right? Just saying. Has anything happened romantically?
No, but he liked one of my pictures on Instagram, so things are moving pretty quickly.
You might as well get married then. Yeah, listen, can I just point out that I had this conversation with my daughter the other day and I didn't realise it was so complicated. And Charlie, you need to come on this because relationships nowadays. So when I was younger, and I think Christian would accept this, you'd go out, you'd be in a bar or a restaurant, you'd talk to somebody and then you'd ask for their number and you'd take them out. Oh no, Alice was explaining to me the other day. If they like a photo, that's a green light to then maybe send a text, which might be a green light to them maybe to then send you back a text, which might be a green light to you both talking, which could be a green light to you acknowledging that you're talking, but there's nothing else. And then you go through another period of months, and eventually somebody might just say, if they feel comfortable, would you like to go for a drink? I have never... How long does it take to go, I fancy you, do you want to snog and go out for dinner? I don't understand anymore.
I mean, I'm 41 and going to die alone. So the answer is over 41.
I'm not going to allow that to happen. I won't.
Thank you.
I honestly, Victoria would have to understand. I will fly to the States and save you. It's no good. I'm not having that at all. Christian's nodding appreciatively. Kins, before we talk royals, I just wanted to... I never sort of plan any of this, but I watched, as open-mouthed as everybody else, Melania Trump toddle out into the White House yesterday and do this extraordinary speech where she declared, I've never had a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. My take on this might cause you to laugh, but I'm being deadly serious. The president came out and said I was blindsided. I had no idea she was going to do this, which I don't believe for 1 minute. I think things are so bad in terms of the Iran war for the president that she's been totted out to change tack. And I have to say, things can't be good if he'd rather start talking about Jeffrey Epstein again rather than Iran. Now, you might think I'm mad, but that's how I see it.
Well, I hadn't thought about that. I have heard over here in the States 2 different theories about why this happened. Yep. Do I believe that President Trump didn't know about this? No. I mean, he's just so choreographed in well, no, he's not. But I think he's going to know if there's a press conference happening in his residence. But the theories that are circulating here in the States is that she was really upset by one of the DOJ drops that featured an email that she sent to Ghislaine Maxwell, and she wants to distance herself from that because it was very friendly. And she even says in her speech that she was just being polite. She said, "My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence," and she referred to it as a polite reply. But I thought the other theory that was really interesting came from Alan Dershowitz, who you'll remember fought Virginia Giuffre, over her allegations that they had sex 6 times in places he said he never visited. She later had to come out and say she was mistaken and it wasn't him. He suggests that Melania and her legal team are trying to lay the groundwork for potential legal action, because in the United States, the bar for a public figure to sue for defamation is really, really high. The other person will say free speech, right? And so that he believes that Melania is positioning herself with that speech to strengthen a potential claim that anyone that continues to publish anything defamatory against her is doing it with actual malice, which is critical to prove in court. That's a critical threshold in a successful defamation case. So,
because the difficulty is people will say whenever that happens, as they said when Prince Andrew paid off Virginia Giuffre, there's no smoke without fire. Why would you be looking to raise a defamation case, or why would you be paying somebody off if it was... Let's just have a quick look, if we can. This was Melania Trump blindsiding everybody, but I don't think Donald Trump. Yesterday, have a watch.
The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time.
Both of you, it's just extraordinary timing, and the accusations. There's no meat on the bone. It's almost a wide-ranging thing. But my take was, and people might laugh. I'd love to know what you think, Charlie. Donald, so wrong is it going in Iran, he'd be happy to talk about a set of files that's already brought down 2 cabinet ministers and is the most important thing literally in the history of the world, quite rightly too, because of the victims.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And look, just tagging back to, did he know, did he not know, did anyone know in the White House? Well, they would have done. I mean, they're surrounded by secretaries and private assistants.
And with the greatest respect, he's a control freak. He's going to know what's going on in the White House, isn't he?
And somebody would have run from, I don't know the layout of the building, but let's say from one end of the corridor to the other,
4 miles, yes.
Private secretary would have run down that 4-mile corridor to say, Mr. President, I'm from the...
Your wife's about to speak to the world media.
Exactly.
If somebody said to me, Jez, your wife's about to hold a press conference, I'd run 4 miles.
Yes.
Can you imagine Victoria standing there going, it's time I address those rumours about my husband and Kinsey Schofield. It's a joke, by the way, if nobody's got a sense of... Look at Kinsey's face. By the way, we didn't ask you. Sorry, Kinsey, have you worn white trainers again with a suit? Somebody asked.
Yes, I have,
This is not a good look.
No, well, I thought
the only person I've seen wear white trainers with a suit was Tim Davie, and he's no longer with the BBC.
Well, I was obviously emulating Tim Davies' fashion sense, but I was trying to be young and hip.
Hold on. From America, the 41-year-old. Sorry, what did you say?
I think it's very chic. Like
Thank
white
you.
trainers with a suit. I love that look. Yes, thank you. I think that's a cool look, honestly.
What about nice boots? No?
Those are some tight jeans, Jeremy Kyle. How are you still procreating?
You what? What did you say?
I said, how are you still procreating? Those are some tight jeans.
I could answer that truthfully. I'm not procreating, and I don't have as much to pack into tight jeans as other men, but actually we know that story. Let's talk...
Yes, we do.
Christian's going, can we do some royal stuff, please? Here we can. King Charles, set to address our nation to celebrate the Queen's 100th birthday, the late Queen's 100th birthday.
Yes, on April 21st, he's celebrating the life, legacy, and unwavering sense of duty of Queen Elizabeth II. The tribute will be accompanied by a reception at Buckingham Palace, hosted by the King and Queen Camilla. They've apparently put together a moving video montage highlighting key moments from her life. We expect to see senior royals there. I would say there will be a very specific member missing, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, but the king has apparently been combing through the guest list to ensure that he finds some of the most important people from some of Queen Elizabeth's favorite charities that will have the privilege of being in the room with them.
We had Hugo, your friend, on yesterday, whose new book, Queen Elizabeth II, was out yesterday. Extraordinary man to have on the stories. And one of the things I hate about everything that's happening to the royal family right now, because I'm a royalist, as you know, I just don't want anything to taint a woman who was there every day for me in my life. And that's what many people say. Even anti-royalists would say she was the one constant feature in our lives. I'm not shocked by the next headline. I'll try and sound interested. Meghan Markle slammed overnight as unbelievably calculating and cynical plan to release Princess Diana inspired clothes range. I'm just going to pass this to Kinsey. Unbelievable.
Well, let's cross our fingers that this is in the early stages and there are no investors, and that they can pull the plug before this actually comes to fruition. I mean, her appearance at New York Fashion Week was not well received. It was bizarre. She puts her feet on the seat as she drives past the Diana's death point in Paris. You know, she's been flirting with Vogue magazine's new editor, Chloe Mall. They were spotted having lunch last year after Paris Fashion Week. So we knew that she had an interest in fashion. But this is a woman that clearly has lost her tailor's phone number because her clothes are always too baggy and big. I don't think she's ever made any sort of interaction with an iron or a steamer because her clothes are constantly, you know, wrinkled. So I don't consider her a fashion icon, but she certainly was trying to convince us of that in November or December of 2025 on the cover of Harper's Bazaar magazine with some of those unflattering photos.
Honestly, I love listening to you because you just managed to nail it. I think she's lost the number of her tailor, or she hasn't got an iron or a steam iron. Yeah, everything is calculating. I'm never surprised. By the way, this is a bizarre headline. Cancer-stricken Charles has one important request for William when he's gone, and it's to leave his wife Camilla alone. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is suggesting that there's hostility between Queen Camilla and Prince William, and it's my understanding that they actually get along really great these days, and it's thanks to the chaos surrounding Harry. It's actually bonded William with his father and his stepmother, and you know, but I also know that Queen Camilla is set up for what happens post-Charles. She wants to be close to her children. She wants to be close and accessible to her grandchildren, and those plans have been made, and everyone...
Does this imply that he's iller than we think, Kins, on a serious note?
I think that he just wants to make sure she's taken care of if and when anything happens, and he's comfortable knowing that she's got a safe space where she's, you know, where she can feel secure.
I wonder whether she'll be, and we haven't got time, but I wonder whether she'll be the Queen Mother or she'll disappear from public life. It's very interesting, obviously.
It's my understanding she's going to disappear from public life.
Yeah, fantastic. Kinsey, thank you so much indeed, and for your amazing response to Meghan Markle. That will go down in history. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much indeed. The legend that is Kinsey Schofield, looking as beautiful as ever on breakfast. What is it, 4 minutes to 7? Charlie, we're waking up to news and a third of voters want Starmer to go immediately and call a general election. It's not going to happen, though, is it?
No, I don't think it will. And I think, you know, just because of the rules within the Labour Party, it's very difficult to unseat a Labour Prime Minister.
Do you think post the local elections, and because the local elections, we have to be very careful, we've said that all along, but do you think post that, very quickly, he will survive?
I think he will.
Do you?
I do.
Interesting.
And I think because it'll be a new term, a new session in Parliament, the King will have to open Parliament again for the news, and so there'll be a whole range of policy ideas that the party are bringing forward, that the government are bringing forward, that will, you know, entertain some people on the left. To keep him in post. But as I say, it's very difficult. You need 80 MPs to not just say, I want you gone, but to name who you want the successor to be.
You've got 20 seconds. Did you find any good news on Fed Up Friday?
A chimp turning 30 was saved thanks to a Daily Mail campaign.
Brilliant. If you are waking up, Fed Up Friday, everybody wants the Prime Minister out. The poll says that. We might be at war. We've got a Prime Minister who's spineless, but a chimpanzee's been saved by the Daily Mail. Charlie Roddy, thank you very much indeed. This is Tour Breakfast.
The world is on fire. Russia, Iran, China, conflicts brewing in all of their different regions. They're not waiting. But here in Britain, our armed forces are underfunded, they're undermanned, and they're underprepared. And nobody in government wants to talk about it. Well, we do. I'm Philip Ingram, and I spent my career in the world of intelligence, military planning, strategic planning, and unfortunately, conflict. This is Talk War, and this is where we analyse the conflicts shaping our world.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now, it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead.
I spoke to you about the situation in the Gulf and explained that the United Kingdom was not involved in the strikes on Iran. That remains the case. The basis of our decision is the collective self-defense of long-standing friends and allies and protecting British lives. That is in accordance with international law, and we are publishing a summary of our legal advice. We are not joining these strikes, but we will continue with our defensive actions in the region.
Mr Farage, would a reform government have allowed US forces to use UK air bases for offensive operations in Iran?
Yes is the answer to your question. I would have said to the Americans, please do use our bases. We will be supportive of you on this.
There were a series of very loud blasts in the area of Dubai that I'm based in. That's in the marina area. It's a very touristy area, actually. Those blasts were the loudest we've heard yet, but equally we are reassured that they are most likely the sound of interception by the UAE's quite sophisticated THAAD interception kit. That is
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning and welcome back to the UK's radio station and TV station Talk, where common sense prevails, right, and where your views on the day's news matter. I don't know what you're doing on Fed Up Friday, apart from sounding fed up, but be involved. 0344 499 1000. Your text message to 87222. So much to talk about. You're waking up to the news that our Prime Minister, well, he's not doing very well today because 66% of the United Kingdom want him gone and they want a general election. I just want to know where the other 33% live. Also, energy prices. He's fed up. He says, I'm fed up with... Let's play this clip, because this should... Has he discovered a backbone, or is he a hypocrite? This is him blaming the war in Iran on every problem in your life, people. Have a listen.
I'm fed up with the fact that families across the country see their bills go up and down on energy. Businesses' bills go up and down on energy because of the actions of Putin or Trump across the world.
Let's take the concept being fed up here, shall we? Because it is Fed Up Friday. Morning, Matt.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Mark from Durham. Fed Up Friday. Well, I'm not fed up because I've got work tomorrow and we run a bar and we'll be in the Bee Garden. It's in Durham. It's the Durham Brewery and it's going to be warm. We've got loads of beautiful real ale. And what is there to be fed up about other than the state of the world? But hey, for a few hours, let's forget about it and just have a drink. Cheers, mate. Love the show.
Brilliant. Can I just say about Fed Up Friday, it's just that every single voice note in the first which I get because we're in such a precarious position, aren't we? Let's just talk about what Starmer said just then, right? He is blaming, and by the way, the Donald Trump thing in Iran continues, and there are many different sides to that argument. Whatever side you are on, everybody is saying, where will it end? What's the fallout of that action? The thing that's extraordinary to me is we've got a Prime Minister who has spent, quite rightly, the campaign bemoaning what the Tories had become. Promising change, promising growth, promising just to do things differently. Truth of the matter is, 21 months in, there was no plan. There have been more U-turns than my son trying to do his first driving lesson, on a serious note. And he seems to have moved from blaming the Tories for everything to now blaming a war in Iran that has lasted, what, 5 weeks for our energy bills. Let's just nail this. The reason your energy bills are so high is because of their obsession with net zero. Today, this is really relevant, in the northeast of England, OpenAI, a massive tech company from America, was going to invest £31 billion, create jobs in the northeast and do right by this country. They have pulled out, ladies and gentlemen, in a direct challenge to Ed Miliband, and said, we are not coming to the UK because of high energy costs. Your bills have gone up under this government. They went up under the Tory government. Let's have some honesty here, right? This is because they are obsessed with net zero, which is going to bankrupt a country that is already on its knees. That is the issue. 0344 499 1000. Jez, it's Simon from Nottingham. It's a miserable Friday. I've just finished a 14-hour shift with overtime so I can look after my family. I'm knackered. I'm just so glad that those illegal migrants are sleeping well in their 4-star hotels. Matt in Brighton. Rowley, Charlie Rowley, hinge your bracket that you just had on, will neither be wearing Speedos or shorts in that Benidorm bar. I saw him in there last year. Disgraceful. Jaden from Birmingham. Good morning, my friend. You can be happy about the fact that it's a Friday. Right. Is that it? That's the best you've got? Steve, morning. When I served in the Royal Navy, we had over 20 classes of ships. Now we have 2 aircraft carriers, 6 destroyers and 7 frigates. Wow, how have we fallen? And for you, I'd like to do a tracker of where HMS Dragonfleet is, but just to let you know, our only warship, 3.5 weeks after the war started, still isn't in Cyprus. It's docked in the East Mediterranean, somewhere in a port, because the sanitation system isn't working. Phil in Coventry, good morning. Fed Up Friday, might be, but tomorrow Coventry City will be back in the Premier League, and I will be a happy man. Morning, Steph. I've got some good news. I'm still upright. What? And it stopped raining. That's great. Nice. Paula's in Hitchin. You been to Hitchin? Nice. Morning, Jess. Fed up Friday. I was happy 10 minutes ago. Finally been to the toilet after 3 days of constipation. I have to read this next text before I get to this, but I'm going to have to... We were talking about dating, Kinsey and I, and how it's so much more difficult nowadays. My daughter told me you have to like a picture and all this sort of stuff. Anna said, oh, God. Dear God, Jezza, says Anna in Surrey, in our day, 2 hours after meeting in a nightclub, by the time the kettle had finished, we'd already made out on the kitchen table twice. No wonder these young people aren't having kids. Wow. 8 minutes past 7. Let's move on. Thank you for your text. 87222. Your messages on 0344 499 1000. The Defence Secretary yesterday, John Healey, in response to a Russian warship flowing, or rather just passing by in Britain's waters, and we're all aware that they're spying, right? Apparently, we're just going to do nothing. A, and one, we've got no Navy, and B, and two, we've got an Attorney General who said, and I quote, if we tried to board those ships or tell them off, it's against international law. They're in our water. Here's a man who'll know all about this, Sir Bill Browder. I'm so delighted to have him on the show. Putin's #1 foreign enemy and the head of the global Magnitsky, I hope I got the right, justice campaign. Bill, a very good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast.
Great to see you.
Global say it for me so I don't sound so idiotic.
The Global Magnitsky Justice Campaign.
Explain to me why you are Vladimir Putin's, or perceived as his #1 enemy, my friend.
Well, back in 2009, Vladimir Putin murdered my lawyer. His name was Sergei Magnitsky. Sergei uncovered a $230 million government corruption scheme that Putin was the beneficiary of. After that, I went on a campaign to get justice for my lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky. And what I did was I passed in a number of different countries a law called the Magnitsky Act, which freezes Putin's assets and bans the travel of him and all of his officials to the West. And he's a guy who likes to steal a lot of money. He likes to travel in the West. He likes to keep all his money in the West. And by doing that, it was a major blow to him and a major blow to all of his oligarchs. And so he's been chasing me around the world ever since.
Do you look over your shoulder on a serious note?
Of course. How can one not? I mean, he's going around the world killing all of his enemies.
And that doesn't deter you?
Well, he murdered in cold blood after 358 days of torture my lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, and I'm not going to back down.
Good for you, my friend. I'm really fascinated to get a Putin angle on what's going on in the world. I think we would all assume that what's happening in Iran, there's two ways of looking at it. Some will say that Donald Trump is doing what is needed in terms of how these mad mullahs have financed proxy terrorist groups for years. Others will say, no, mate, you went in without the allies. The Straits of Hormuz is a disaster. You've capitulated. You're backed into a corner, and we're in more of a mess than any time before. One thing's for sure. The man who you want to hunt down, Vladimir Putin, is rubbing his hands with glee, isn't he, Bill?
He is and he isn't. So, of course, he's very happy with two things. One is that the price of oil has gone up dramatically. His main source of money is the sale of oil, so that's great. Second thing that's great is that for reasons that it's still hard to even understand, the U.S. has lifted sanctions on Russian oil, which means that in addition to the oil price going up, the discount that the Russia used to have to sell their oil at has disappeared. So they got a double benefit of a lot more money. But on the other side, and this is something that isn't as well reported, the Ukrainians have been hitting Russian oil distribution ports all over the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea, and they've reduced Russia's ability to sell oil by about 40%. And so it's yet to be seen what the net is of this thing, higher oil prices versus Ukraine destroying all of their oil export capacity. But what I can say is that there's an economic problem and crisis going on in Russia. You can see it in a lot of different ways. Putin is not, he might be happy on an international stage, but he cut off the internet in Moscow and St. Petersburg because he's so afraid of his own people organizing a coup. So, you know, this is not the joyful times for Vladimir Putin. He's got some good things going and some bad things going on all at the same time.
So he's not he's not in a stronger position as we're led to believe. Can I bring it to the United Kingdom? We all saw pictures of this Russian boat. That's the best way I can describe it. Ship passing by. Cue outrage from certain people, heading over our cables, security, all of that. We've got, excuse me, it's hay fever. We have got the most extraordinary Attorney General in this country who doesn't do anything, including go to the toilet, it seems to me, without checking whether that's within the confines of human rights. Apparently, we can't go anywhere near the Russian ship, even if they are spying, because that would be an infringement of international human rights. But they're OK, I think, to sail through our seas uncharted. Yesterday, our Defence Secretary, extraordinary, just went, "We see you." Well, we can all see the boat. He's laughing at that, isn't he? For goodness sake, we're spineless in the United Kingdom now.
Well, I mean, and this is a particularly disturbing situation. So Putin, we talk about who he's at war with. He's at war with Ukraine. Well, he's not just at war with Ukraine. He's at war in an asymmetric war with all of us. And this whole boat incident is particularly important because in other parts of the world, Putin has been dragging up and severing internet cables. He did that in the Baltic Sea. He's attempted to do that elsewhere. And this sort of war of sabotage is what I would call it, is something that has to be dealt with and dealt with firmly. And if we're sort of sitting around saying, well, that's we can't do that because of that, that's not subject to international law. Well, Putin doesn't seem to be caring much about international law.
That's the point that I always want to make to people like Herma. Whilst you're sitting there pontificating and finding every reason to, have a discussion, people are going ahead and doing things, whether it's invading Ukraine or going into Iran. And the Mail reports this morning, Bill, that Russia ran a secret operation targeting crucial energy and data cables in British waters for over a month. Surely, as a sovereign nation, we should be in the water. We should be doing something about it. I know we've only got one boat and that can't even reach Cyprus, but it doesn't look good on the United Kingdom, does it?
Well, if we don't push back hard, and I mean very hard, on these types of things, Putin will continue to do bad things, and he might do something that is catastrophic. He could cut our internet cables. He could do something else which has unbelievably negative consequences. And so there are times when we have to just go beyond the law and say that this is a threat to our national security. If you're there, we're going to board your ships. We're going to confiscate your boat. This has happened in Sweden has confiscated their boats. Finland has done the same thing. We should be absolutely totally robust, because at the end of the day, this is not, we have already started a war. It's not called a war. It's an asymmetric war. But Putin is just going to continue pushing and pushing and to see how far he can push. And so we have to completely and absolutely be robust in response to this.
Couldn't agree more. And we hardly have a robust government. Is the UK, in your opinion, Bill Browder, is it at risk from Russia right now?
Absolutely, completely. And it's not just the UK that's at risk. Putin is targeting all of the West, all of the countries that stood up to him for his invasion of Ukraine, all of Europe for sure. And perhaps the United States is not at risk right now because there's all these strange, sort of favors being returned, going back and forth. But at the moment, everybody who's standing up for Ukraine is at risk from Vladimir Putin, and the Britain is considered to be one of Putin's biggest enemies, because we've been so robust and so right in supporting Ukraine.
And then that begs the question, as this Russian ship sails through our waters, and I repeated that story from the Mail, they reckon it's a secret operation. Two questions for you. Why is he spying on the UK, do you think?
Well, he's spying on everybody. He's messing with everybody. It's not just us, but he's messing with everybody. But of course, the UK is a country that he doesn't like, because we are actually standing up to him. We're doing things that make him uncomfortable. And by the way, if we did do something tough with him, with his boats, he's one of these people that sort of avoids trouble. He'll push for stuff until there's trouble, and then he'll go and do something somewhere else where somebody else is not standing up to him.
Isn't that the hallmark of a bully, though? That if you, people say with Trump, don't they? Agree with him or don't agree with him, but stand up to him and he'd admire you more. If you were in charge, would you send the Navy to board those Russian vessels?
Absolutely. And by the way, we have a lot of other allies out there that would join us in boarding those Russian vessels. This is something that interests everybody in the free world. And so I'm sure if we asked our French allies or our German allies or our Swedish allies to assist us in this operation, they would. This is something that affects the whole world, that affects all the freedom-loving countries, and we should be tough as hell on this situation.
just want to ask your opinion as an American, about what's going on in Iran and Trump. As I said at the beginning, there are diametrically opposed opinions, which I think probably sums up what Trump is to many people. Some will say we should never forget, quite rightly, you know, those mad mullahs have been financed by Tehran. They've been financing proxy groups for years from Tehran. Others are saying, yes, but look what you've done. You've instigated a bombing raid. The people have not risen up. They've closed the Straits of Hormuz, and actually you've come out of there with a worse deal than you had before. As an American, what do you see as the overview of what's happening?
Oh, I should point out I'm not American, I'm British, but my accent betrays it. But as a
citizen...
I
do apologise. I thought you, blimey, absolutely. Sorry, I thought you were American.
But I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, you know, here we're in a situation where this war was executed without a plan. Nobody had thought about the consequences of doing what was done, and we're now in a situation where if the status quo remains, if Iran is in control of the Strait of Hormuz, and they've shown now that they could destroy all of the Gulf states, then Iran is in a stronger position geopolitically than they were when they started this whole thing. And so I think that that is pretty awful for us, for the Gulf countries, for Israel, for all the people who are sitting around in that part of the world. And so, you know, I wish, you know, the Iranian regime is an evil regime. There's no question about it. There were a lot of different ways one could deal with an evil regime, but to start a war that you didn't have any idea how it was going to finish, I think was a bad geopolitical move, and we're probably going to pay the price for that.
It's really interesting when you dig down here. People are saying that there was a moment 5 weeks ago when almost the entire leadership of Ayatollah Khomeini and his surrounding, you know, generals and officials were in the same building, and a decision was taken. But you're right, it's frightening to think that nobody quite worked out about the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, I was very critical of Starmer not giving the bases, but like many others, didn't think that maybe we should have gone into those initial sorties. But yeah, we find ourselves in a difficult position. But to bring it back round to Vladimir Putin, you touched upon, which I thought was incredibly interesting, that all is not sweet at home, but certainly on the international stage, he will be somebody who will exploit holes, loopholes, and situations that evolve. Is that a fair summing up, Bill?
Absolutely, for sure. He's going to use every opportunity to improve his own situation. But I should also point out one other thing, which is important, which is that this Iranian thing showed how weak Putin was, in the sense that Iran is his ally. He couldn't do anything to help Iran. Venezuela is his ally. He couldn't do anything to help Maduro in Venezuela. Syria, Assad was his ally. He couldn't do anything to help Assad. Armenia was his ally, and the Azerbaijanis took Nagorno-Karabakh. He's showing that he's kind of a weak man on the international stage right now, and so of course he's going to exploit every opportunity. He sort of rolls with the punches and comes up swinging again. But it's not as if he's looking like a superpower right now. He's looking like a weak regional power. And you know, whether you agree or disagree with what's going on with Iran makes him look weak, because he couldn't protect one of his allies.
It's fascinating. I really didn't realize. I didn't realize. I mean, I wish you'd had you on before. It's absolutely fascinating to get your take. Just very quickly, your view of Vladimir Putin there. You say our country good. What's your view of this current government's approach to Iran and Keir Starmer on the day that a poll says that 66% of this country want him gone now? Do you think that we are laughable now on the international stage?
Well, I mean, it requires more than a soundbite to discuss what's currently going on. I mean, in terms of standing up to Trump, I think that he should be standing up to Trump in the national interests of the United Kingdom. We weren't consulted on this war. We were sitting on the sidelines, and all of a sudden he launches a war which is going miserably, and now he's demanding that we put people in harm's way. I think that it's the right thing to do to say, well, until you have a plan, why would we want to have young men and women dying in the Gulf?
Bill, it's absolutely. Will you please come back again? It was fascinating. Will you do that for me?
Of course.
Really good. Thank you so much indeed. So good to have you on. Bill Browder, Sir Bill Browder, Putin's #1 foreign enemy and head of the global Magnitsky, I hope I've got the right, justice campaign. His friend, the lawyer, who was murdered by Vladimir Putin. Some really, really interesting views there. 0344 499 1000, as say, waking up to a poll that says 66% of the country want Keir Starmer gone. You're waking up to the news that OpenAI, a massive tech company that was coming to the United Kingdom to invest £31 billion in the North East and to provide jobs by their 1,000, have pulled out this morning, blaming energy costs. I have to say, I just want to go to the break by reading Steve's text, because I think this is interesting. He went, I don't believe for 1 minute that that AI company pulled out due to high energy prices, but rather as the beginning of a punishment for our lack of support for the United States in their current predicament. That is just a thought, but that could be an interesting one. Morning, Ash.
Morning, Jez. Ash from Preston. Let's be honest, right? International law does not exist. It only exists to people like Starmer and Hermer, who base their entire lives on it. But international law actually means that people like Trump or Xi or Putin in the biggest countries, the most powerful countries, can do whatever they want, and everybody else has to bow down and simply put up with it. That's what international law really means.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, welcome back. I wish we could do a fly-on-the-wall documentary of what goes on. Damien, G-Spot, because we never know where he is, has just walked in the studio and I went, are you fed up because it's Friday, Damien? He went, what the hell are you going on about? And I went, we've been doing it for an hour and a half. He went, I'm not listening, I'm not fed up, I'm very happy. Get on with it. Miserable git. 0344 499 1000, text to 8. Phil's fed up. Morning, Phil. Morning, Phil. Brilliant. Morning, Phil.
Hi, Jezza. Phil in Nottingham here. I'll tell you what I'm fed up with. I'm fed up to being gaslit and lied to by the political elite. And it's been happening for years, since Tony Blair. I'm fed up of being lied to by Tony Blair and his cronies, saying that we had to have open borders, have prosperity, that's the word I'm looking for. I'm fed up of not being able to think of words. I'm fed up of the Tories lying to us and doing nothing at all and feathering their own nests. I'm now fed up of Labour gaslighting us and lying to us about energy costs and what they're going to do and then not doing it. I'm fed up of MPs basically feathering their own nest and working to their own agenda, telling us they're going to do one thing and then doing completely the opposite. And here's me doing 12, 15-hour days every day. For what? To line the pocket of the feckless? Yeah, great. Thanks very much.
It's just so miserable. I'm fed up with that message. He couldn't say prosperity, bless him, but that sums it up. Dan says, Jez, it's Fed Up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday that left these days and either take a day off for complete stupidity. Maggie, this is great, Margaret rather. Herma and Starmer always come out with this international or codswallop. They are allowing Russian ships to come into our waters, illegal migrants to cross the channel, allowing the Chinese to build their super embassy. So all in all, whose side are they on? Because they are definitely, in my mind, says Margaret, not on the side of the British people. Maggie's in London. What? How about, Jez, that Melania is just fed up to the back teeth with these allegations, smears about her? To me, she looked really hacked off and is probably saying enough is enough. You could be right. Sharon's in Staffordshire. What is wrong, Jezza, with Meghan wanting to inspire her late mother-in-law's clothes? I think it's a wonderful idea, says Sharon from Staffordshire. The only thing I'd say, Sharon, is that's an opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. I just think that most people will go about Meghan Markle. There's always an ulterior motive. That's the only thing that I would find confusing. 7:30, we're live across the UK. You're waking up to the news that Keir Starmer is that unpopular that 66% in a poll want him gone today and an election tomorrow. We'll say a very good morning to a man I saw on television yesterday looking incredibly windswept. One hopes he's brushed his hair this morning. Benedict Spence, good morning. Oh, God. What's happened? What's happened to the Barnet, Spence? We need to bang it down a bit, buddy.
I'm having a difficult couple of weeks. It's very windy where I am. But
welcome to the show. I'm good. Nice to have you on, my friend. Great to have you on, in fact. So Britain wakes up to the news that 66% of this country wants Starmer to resign immediately and call a general election. My question to you, Benedict, is have you met any of the 33% who don't want that? Because I haven't.
I haven't either. I have no idea who these people are or where they must live. But clearly these are places that you and I never frequent, and we should be happy about that. I mean, it's possible, of course, that these are simply people who think that he shouldn't be Prime Minister, but are prepared to give him, say, until the end of the week. To stay in place rather than having to go today. Honestly, though, it is remarkable. It is remarkable how unpopular he has become. We were all sat here sort of the tail end of the Sunak administration saying it couldn't possibly get any worse. This is as bad as it's ever been. And then lo and behold, it's simply been one catastrophe after another. It's just been a series of incidents of a man clearly without a plan, clearly without a vision, clearly without any sort of real interest or spark as much as anything else.
I like that word. You're right. It's almost like your head teacher, your bank manager or some boring lawyer is just going through the motions. And leadership, we've talked about this a lot. Leadership is about, you know, taking critical decisions, taking unpopular decisions, being able to say and do things that maybe not everybody thinks about. Let's take this example this morning. There's two things this morning that jump out to me. The first is OpenAI. For people just tuning in, this was a £31 billion investment in the Northeast. A big, big, big American tech company being hailed. It was hailed by the government. Britain would become an AI superpower. There'd be thousands of jobs. They've pulled out this morning due to high energy costs. Now, initially, I'm sat here and I'm thinking, that's because of net zero. This is on Ed Miliband, that crazy notion that we can be whatever it is free, the cost to the nation. Somebody just texted, though, Benedict, maybe this is the beginning of punishment from America because our lack of support for Trump. Thoughts?
I mean, that's possible. I doubt that a company like OpenAI would have taken a decision in such short terms on that basis. But one of the other things that is being talked about with regards to this decision is that they've paused it over questions of regulation, and one wonders if that is in fact to do with the Prime Minister's suggestions and the Chancellor's suggestions that the UK needs to align itself more closely with the EU. Now, there's a reason, actually, that lots of AI companies were prepared to do business with the UK, and that's because the EU is, as we all know, very overbearing when it comes to regulation, especially of tech companies. They loathe the idea of innovation, especially of American companies innovating. And so I think that that actually does, you know, the political dynamic of this will have played a role, and that is Starmer saying Britain needs to be more closely aligned to the European Union, our future lies with Europe, and AI companies will be looking at that going, that means you're going to make our lives more difficult to operate in your jurisdiction. Maybe you're not for us.
That's why these one of the best, ladies and gentlemen, because genuinely none of us have thought about that. You are potentially absolutely right. That announcement about the EU might have sent shockwaves. Whatever it is, whether it's that, whether it's energy, whether it's Trump, that's a massive blow for a government, Benedict, that came here and talked about growth. Growth have destroyed small businesses by, you know, increasing NI and workers' rights. And now major tech investment is going, we're not doing this. And again, we bring it back We bring it back to the whole notion of net zero. We try and balance it out. But I do not personally understand when you are skint, when you are paying £120 billion a year in interest on debts, when you've got genuine money under your seabed, why we are following a system that will not only cost us in the short term, but also in the long term. And it makes, to me, no sense that he is prepared to kill this country financially on the altar of his ideology. And I make no apology, because I think that's absolutely how it is.
Well, I think this is the thing. You and I and the majority of the listeners are people who tend to think about things pragmatically.
Yeah, that's right.
We like to think about things rationally. We like to sometimes even change our opinions when the facts in front of us change. Ideologues like this do not. They simply make everything fit their ideology and double down when it doesn't. And, you know, this, I'm afraid, is a large part of the problem, and is why Labour are quite so dangerous as they are. They have fully subscribed to this idea. And, you know, another large part of the problem is that there are millions of voters in this country who have subscribed to the idea of net zero, A, or B, are heavily dependent on state handouts, which is, of course, another thing that we could cut to try to create a bit of growth, a bit of headroom in this country. But we refuse to. You've got this sort of twin situation of environmentalism and benefits that so many people will not give up for love nor money. And, you know, just to take it back to the AI thing, the really sad thing about all of this is Britain is, or at least should be, a leader in this sector. Yeah. And that's entirely because we have Oxford, Cambridge, UCL and Imperial, 4 of the world's top 10 universities. We massively outpunch our weight on this issue. And these places turn out some of, if not the best, physicists, mathematicians, coders. They are absolute powerhouses for this very specific industry, and we are killing it. And these people will all move to the US.
Breakfast is quick. We haven't got much more time, but I know that you, brilliant by the way, brilliant, I know that you will have an opinion on this. Vladimir Putin's ships are sailing through British waters, going over cables, spying. It's been going on a month. Other countries have done something about it. We do nothing about it because our only boat's trying to get to Cyprus still. Yesterday, Defence Secretary John Healey says, "We see you, Vladimir Putin." Well, we can all see the bloody boat. We're not blind. Are we as impotent as ever? I mean, this is down to Herma again. The Attorney General says, if you go anywhere near that boat, you're breaking international law. I ask you, Benedict Spence, aren't they breaking international law by spying in our water?
Oh, they've been breaking international law for years, and they know that there's nothing that we'll do about it. They continue to do this with impunity, partly because they understand that our military capacities have been thoroughly degraded, not just by Labour, it must be said, certainly under the Tories. This happened a lot. But, you know, there's no question that Labour have not done much to turn it round in recent years. But there's another element to this as well, which is that, you know, despite the fact that Russian oil has been sanctioned and Russia itself has been sanctioned a lot over the last couple of years, the war in Iran and the lack of supply out of the Gulf, out of the Strait of Hormuz, obviously is leading to an energy spike crisis. We haven't actually felt the full effects of that yet. I would not be surprised at all if a lot of countries, including Britain, which have taken very strong stances on Russia, are sort of looking around at each other and thinking there could be real problems in this country later on down the line when petrol really sort of, you know, hits the ceiling. And it could happen in many of our allies as well. Maybe it is in fact just the time to just turn a blind eye to this sort of thing, to these, you know, to these Russian tankers going along the way, because we need it somewhere in some capacity to keep global oil supplies going. And I'm not saying necessarily that's the British government saying that, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if EU states were leaning on the UK, even if America was leaning on the UK to say, don't do anything about that. You notice that, you know, the American seizing of Russian tankers has stopped. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Britain's allies were leaning on them and saying, absolutely, this is not the moment to be seizing these tankers because we need this oil.
This is going to sound like a proud dad. You're brilliant. No, you are. That EU thing about the net zero is fantastic. I obviously won't ask you your location this morning. It looks like a bedroom. I'm not getting involved. Again, Spence, outrageous, but we love you. Thank you very much indeed. The legend that is Benedict Spence on Talk Breakfast, 23 minutes to 8 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. JK on until 10, 0344 499 1000. Text to 872. I have to... Do you think this is the beginning of the end? Do you think... What do you mean, yes? Do you know what they've started to talk to me in this studio? They go, we're going to a break. We'll be back in a minute. Do you want a biscuit? Morning, Anna.
Good morning, Jezana. Sorry. To the random burglar that was in my house last night with a swag bag at 2 o'clock in the morning. I see you. I see you. Any attempt to re-enter my home and rob me again will not be tolerated. Just remember, fella, I see you.
Morning, Jane.
Morning, JK. The question is, how did John Healey see him from his sun lounger in Nice? I'll just leave it there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 20 minutes to 8. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is, of course, the home of common sense, and where your views on the day's news are more than welcome. Morning, Darius. Brilliant.
Good morning, Jezza and Charlie. This is Darius. I'm speaking from Botswana this morning. Here's an idea. If Russia's sending submarines down the English Channel, couldn't they pop up from time to time and scoop up all the people on the boats and take them off to Siberia? Wouldn't it nice to do an international deal like that? Starmer might like it. It's a thought, isn't it? Bye.
You can't just, in your own water, come up on a submarine and aggressively take on board or arrest Russians who are spying on us. That's against international law. How utterly ridiculous is that suggestion? Herma would never allow that. 19 minutes to 8. Good morning to, who's this? Brian in Spain. Goodness me. From Botswana to Spain, from Newcastle to Naples. That sounds like a jingle. If they can't stop a dinghy in the channel, how the bloody hell are they going to stop the Russian Navy? Interesting. Herma would have needed to see a mushroom cloud before doing anything to stop Iran. Herma is useless. This is dangerous situation. Zoe's in Lancashire. What are we going to do about this Russian spy ship then, John? Send border force out there to track them, as we don't have a single ship working, and anyone we do have is stuck in the med. But remember, we see you. We see you. Yes. Shall we play this clip? I mean, the Russians are spying in our water. We haven't got a boat to go and do anything about it. This is the Defence Secretary who only found out when he was on a sun lounger in Spain. This is his response. This is him speaking tough yesterday to Vladimir Putin.
And to President Putin, I say, we see you. We see your activity over our cables and our pipelines. And you should know that any attempt to damage them will not be tolerated and will have serious consequences.
Right, that was yesterday. It will be tolerated. That was We See You. This was a few months ago, John Healey, in the House of Commons. Have a listen.
And I also want President Putin to hear this message. We see you. We know what you're doing. And we will not shy away from
from robust action to protect this country.
Can you imagine, like, somebody in the Defence Department yesterday going, John, I've been down to Dover. Honestly, I see it. There's a bloody big ship there. We see it, John. We see it. Yeah, and we see how mad it all is. A very good morning to the Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, out and about braving it. No, indoors, slumming it. Good morning, Matt Vickers. How are you?
Good morning. All good, all good.
Can I just say something to you,
Out on
Matt?
the stump,
Can I just
up in the patch. Times are good.
Can I just say something to you? We see you, Matt Vickers. We see you.
We still see you. We see you, baby, shaking that sub. It's absolutely horrendous, isn't it? That this is, I mean, Putin must be shaking in his boots, terrified at the prospect that John Healey can see him. It is scary, actually. We've got to the point in the country where the defence investment plan that we were supposed to see hasn't happened, isn't happened. But these things, not only have we not got the capability now, it undermines our future capability, because all those people in that space who might have produced the tech that we need tomorrow are thinking, why hang around in the UK, because it's taking forever to get to the point
well,
where
let's talk about that, because one of the big stories of the day is in the northeast of England, an area I know incredibly well. A big company called OpenAI were coming up and they were going to invest £31 billion and create thousands of jobs. This morning, it's been announced that due, they say, to high energy costs, they are abandoning Britain, which is a huge blow to Labour's bid to, well, make Britain an AI superpower and talk about growth. And I thought, as I was reading this morning, that it would be about energy and talked about net zero and the madness we all know it is. Couple of other suggestions for you. I thought Benedict Spence was spot on. He says that Starmer's closeness and vocal support for the European Union could be very relevant because of regulation. Is it that? Is it punishment from the United States for Iran? What's the Tory party take, Matt?
I think that's actually a really good suggestion, actually, about the EU and how, well, we know what the EU is. We know how much regulation it can generate on anything it touches and how that makes anybody working with any sort of new tech concerned or worried, and probably rightly so. But actually, in terms of the impact of this, not only is it bad for jobs, bad for employment in the northeast, my part of the world, those jobs that youngsters might have took in some of the best emerging technologies going on that could have provided incredible opportunities. But moreover, it's actually about our place in the world, our place to be able to use that technology, to shape that technology, and what it means not only in this investment and these jobs, but what it means going forward for our place as a player in that AI arena. And actually, if you're looking at investing in the UK, there's quite a few reasons not to at the minute.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting for me, this government. We've got a Prime Minister who, and an Attorney General who will find any moment to say, we can't do that because of international law. We can't deport an illegal migrant who has committed a crime because that's against his human rights. We can't board a Russian ship that is patently spying in the English Channel because that is against human rights. We can't, I don't know, there's many more examples. What frustrates people, right, and the AI companies about business, this is more about the United Kingdom. And I said this earlier, why is the European Court of Human Rights or international, the whole thing, seemingly from the British public's point of view, and certainly from Alarm Clock Britain, is always used against us to seemingly favour people who don't have our best interests in heart. And I hear a lot of people will say it's an excuse because these people can't make a decision, but it seems to be used against the British people, Matt.
Well, it's a weapon for the bad guys, essentially. We tie our own hands behind our back. To be honest, Iran was never looking and thinking, oh, we might impede on someone's human right. It just isn't a thing. Meanwhile, we're sending our veterans through the courts. We're failing to look after our borders. We're failing to act in all sorts of situations. It's just pathetic and appalling. But this open AI thing, actually, you look across the globe and look at the UK as an investment prospect. Anybody who's made a few quid, all these incredibly wealthy people who've been successful are leaving the country in droves. They know it's not a place you can make money anymore. This government, well, we've got the highest energy prices going. They're making 20 million a day on the back of all of the tariffs, all of the things they've got going on energy and the duties. They're failing to drill in the North Sea. Our energy prices are through the roof. You're paying some of the highest energy prices going. Employing someone in this country costs a damn fortune, and the cost of that is increasing by the day, because not only have they increased that national insurance. We've now got this employment rights bill that means anybody who takes the risk, takes the punt, and takes someone on is now bound up in red tape and pulled through a tribunal if they dare to sneeze. And then on top of that, business rate and everything else that's coming out of business. Why would you invest in the UK at the moment?
How frightening is that?
Really damaging.
I've named it. We haven't got much time. I've named it Fed Up Friday. Are you fed up today, Matt Vickers?
I'm not fed up because I'm in the constituency. I'm going to get out there, speak to some real people. Hopefully, actually, there's a little bit of sunshine out there. It's not looking too bad.
It's sunny up north, lad, here. When the smog clears, it's lovely. Matt Vickers, we love you. Thank you so much indeed. Deputy Leader. Oh, no, Deputy Chairman. I need to say Deputy Leader. Oh, my God, I promoted him. Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party. 12 minutes to 8. Dickie Arbiter, royal legend. Next until breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 9 minutes to 8. I have to say a very good morning to my beautiful children who are in the car right now. Oliver and Iris heading to their nans. I've just been reminded by Christian, we're going on holiday. Don't. I can't. 0344 499 1000. Morning, Helen.
Morning, JK. It's Helen at Knutsford here. Well, one of the things I've got to be happy about is that I live in Knutsford because it's ace. And another thing is that I've made some new friends and they've got a dog and I'm going to look after their dog while they're away. And I'm really looking forward to that because I lost my dog and I miss her. And so that's going to be great. And we're meeting in the pub later on. I'm in the mood for dancing, romancing. Ooh, I'm giving it all tonight.
See, that's nice to hear somebody happy on a Friday. Well done, Donny. John in Poole says, this is brilliant. Morning, Jez. To all the migrants in France waiting to invade the United Kingdom, I say this. We see you. We absolutely see you. Bear that in mind. Joanna in Salisbury. This is brilliant. I'm wondering whether the military has a contingency plan for internet cables being cut by the Russians. She said, yes, there is an idea, which is World War II carrier pigeons, but Lord Hermer has deemed that will be against the human rights of a pigeon. 0344 499 1000. You're making me laugh this morning. Here's a man who always makes me smile on a Friday. The legend that is Dickie Arbiter, former press secretary to Her Majesty the Queen. Morning, Dickie.
Morning, Jeremy. How are you? I love the pigeons.
Pigeon story is a great story.
You can imagine that, can't you? We're not allowed to go on board a Russian ship that's spying because that's against the international law. But we are allowed to send pigeons. Dickie,
who was it who said the law's on ass?
Many, I imagine. I'm not sure you can say ass, but is that disrespectful to donkeys? The whole world's gone nuts, Dickie. So much to talk about. We found a couple of stories we'd love your take on. King Charles set to address the nation to celebrate the late Queen's 100th birthday, an important moment.
It is an important moment, and sadly, she died before reaching that point, same as Prince Philip was barely 2 months away from reaching his centenary. There is an exhibition already in the King's Gallery inside of Buckingham Palace, Queen Elizabeth II in Style, which is her clothes, which is a must-see exhibition. Everybody's raving about it. And I'm not surprised that the King would pay tribute to his mother, as a lot of people in the United Kingdom would do so as well.
Good, agree. Will you be involved in that in any way?
Will who?
Will you be involved in that in any way?
Well, I haven't been asked yet.
Well, I'm going to make a call later, see if you can be. I want to talk about something that we found, and I'd love your take on this. It is reported that the cancer-stricken King has had one important request for Prince William when he's gone, which is to leave his wife Camilla alone and let her disappear from public life and enjoy the fruits of her retirement. Dickie, going back, although it's brilliant now, William and both Harry, there was a frosty relationship with Camilla, but that has thawed, hasn't it?
It's very much thought, certainly in William's terms. He is a gentleman and he would honour his father. You've got to look where this story came from. It came from an online organisation called Radar Online. And if you look them up, they are an entertainment and gossip website in the United States. Now, what they know about the monarchy is as much as I know about astrophysics, and I know nothing about astrophysics. So I think we take that with a pinch of salt. William would do the right thing, and the right thing is what any monarch would do in those circumstances.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. I believe, and I've said this repeatedly, I believe that he and Iron Kate, as I call her, will save the British monarchy. I don't know. It would be wrong to pontificate as to the extent of the illness of Charles, but I'm prepared to say this most definitely. I was probably as angry as the majority of the country when the marriage to Diana went wrong and everybody painted this woman as the reason. But actually, I think she has quite steadfastly and rightly secured the complete admiration of the majority of this country in the job she's done. Camilla, would you agree?
I couldn't agree with you more. And let's be perfectly honest. Diana was no angel. Marriages work because two people make it work, and no one person is responsible for a marriage breakdown. And you have to ask, well, if one person goes off the rails, why have they gone off the rails? Both of them were as guilty as each other, and one has made right because he is alive and married to Camilla, and she's done sterling job for the monarchy. And the other one, sadly, is no longer with us. He passed away almost 30 years ago.
It's like listening to my dad with you sometimes, mate. He used to say, never let it be said. It was both sides systematically used the media and both sides were as responsible as the other side. It was a tragedy, but it was not down to one person. Good point, Dickie. The Queen's 100th birthday, as would have been. Will Andrew be blocked from celebrating that?
I'm sure he will be. Andrew's not welcomed in public. The King's made that perfectly clear, shoving him out to Sandringham. He could go further. He could go to the north of Scotland, but Sandringham is a bolt hole, and he's safe and secure there. And I don't think, and I don't expect, we'll see him on any form of celebration. The major celebration, obviously, will be in the fullness of time, the unveiling of memorials to both Queen and Prince Philip in St James's Park. But that's still a long way off. The overall plans will be announced soon, but the actual memorials will take a bit of time.
Are you worried about Andrew's mental health? This was discussed repeatedly yesterday across news networks. Is that something that you consider important at this moment, Dickie?
I think one should worry about anybody's mental health in any circumstance, irrespective of what they've done. But Andrew is a victim of his own demise. He is strong. We saw that on his capacity as a helicopter pilot in the Falklands. The fact that he went downhill and off the rails through his arrogance and bombacity ever since is down to him. He'll survive. I don't think anybody likes the idea of loneliness, being stuck out in the bush, but Andrew's asked for it and he'll have to cope with it.
I think you make a really good point, which is incredibly difficult to make sometimes. I try and make it because I believe it. I think that the fact that this nation talks so openly about mental health is brilliant. And I think that will have saved a lot of people. But I also will rail against, till the end of time, the people who will now use that as an excuse to either justify behaviour or explain away something that they might do in the future. And I think that's really important. You know, you could say about Andrew, maybe he is lonely and maybe there are problems, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but you weren't thinking about that when you were close friends with a paedophile and running around the country treating everybody as badly as you did. Dickie, just great to have you on, my friend. Just very quickly, don't get angry. There's another story. Meghan Markle slammed as calculating over plan to release Diana-inspired clothesline. 20 seconds. Is that true or false?
Well, I think that's bonkers as far as I'm concerned. Look, the Diana clothesline revolves around Diana's iconic white shirts and jeans. Lots of women before Diana and lots of women after Diana have worn white shirts and blue jeans, and they've adorned it with a belt of their whatever favourite they have. Meghan's just climbing on the bandwagon, desperate to make money.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Just gone 8 o'clock, or welcome along. This is Talk Breakfast on the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brits. Friday morning, the weekend is nigh. Bit overcast. Is it sunny where you up, and are you fed up? Everybody seems to be fed up today. Everybody's miserable. But there you go. We'll get lots of calls on 0344 499 1000. What are you waking up to? You're waking up to the news that Keir Starmer is the least popular Prime Minister ever, and 66% of this country want him to resign immediately and call a general election. We're asking the 33% who didn't include themselves in that number, where are you? Are you there? Do you believe that Starmer is the man? Please do ring the show. Red Ed strikes again. This is a terrible story this morning. OpenAI, an American tech company, were looking to invest £31 billion in a factory and thousands of jobs in the northeast at a time that would have caused a boom and put Britain at the forefront of AI superpower. But overnight, the American tech company pulling out, blaming energy costs. Now, we started the show 2 hours ago again. Well, that's down to the Labour government's obsession with net zero. Benedict Spanks made a great point earlier. Is it more than that? Is it that our closeness, increasing closeness under Labour to the EU and all the regulations that they involve themselves with have put the Americans off? Or is it the Americans punishing us via Trump? No idea. Thoughts on that? 0344 499 1000. But the thing that's getting you most is the Russian ship. There is a Russian tanker in the channel, going backwards and forwards, and it keeps going backwards and forwards over these cables that have all our secrets and all our data. Now, you would assume, would you not, with a country that's actually invaded Ukraine, that's not a good thing. Now, I don't want to depress anybody on Fed Up Friday, but we've only got one ship, and that ship's still trying to get to Cyprus. after what happened in Iran. It's in a port. The sanitation stuff's not working, so that's not been great. But yesterday, in a warning to Vladimir Putin, our Defence Secretary John Healey stood up in the House of Commons and he gave it to the Russians, didn't he? Listen to this.
And to President Putin, I say, we see you. We see your activity over our cables and our pipelines. And you should know that any attempt to damage them will not be tolerated and will have serious consequences.
Frightening. Morning, Ian.
Morning, Jez. Ian from Home Firth. Now then, we're a resilient bunch, us Brits, and we'll get through this and we'll see this government off. Firstly, John Healey, didn't he say something very, very similar 6 weeks or 2 months ago, the last time there were a Russian vessel over some of our cables within our waters? I'm sure he said something similar to "we see you" then. So it's all right seeing him, but we've already shown our naval might by not being able to get a ship to Cyprus that we can't do anything about it, even if Vladimir Putin came knocking on the door.
The reason we can't do anything about it, you might be right. We've only got one boat and it hasn't got to Cyprus. In fact, the Americans have gone round the moon further than any person and got back, and we still haven't got the boat to Cyprus. But the truth is, the reason we can't do anything about this tanker is Starmer and his Attorney General Hermer have decided that would be a breach of human rights, human law, international law, whatever else they come up with. So it's OK for Russians to spy in our waters, and we can see them. But we can't. God, I sound like Churchill. But we're not allowed to get on the boat because that would be disrespectful. Stephen in London says, Healey, we see you. We see you. You're pathetic and weak. Morning, Anna.
Good morning, Jez. Anna, sorry. To the random burglar that was in my house last night with a swag bag at 2 o'clock in the morning. I see you. I see you. Any attempt to re-enter my home and rob me again will not be tolerated. Just remember, fella, I see you.
Keith in Nottingham. I replayed that, was so good. As it's Friday, let's play a game. I spy with my little telescope. Oh, Jesus, goodness me, there's an oil tanker. Morning, Jane.
Morning, JK. The question is, how did John Healey see him from his sun lounger in Nice? I'll just leave it there.
I think you should. 7 minutes past 8. We say a very good morning to the legend that is Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. I see you. I see you. Good morning.
Good morning. I see John Healey and he looks for all the world like a pensions advisor, doesn't he? One of those people that you've got an annual meeting with and you just dread it and you really hope you can do it on Zoom, ideally with the camera off.
It's a bit like your annual checkup with the doctor and you fear that he's going... Never mind, go into it. The thing about it is, Isabel, that I find so utterly frustrating. We can call out John Healey, who, I mean, could be perceived as one of the more competent ones, but here's my point. Lord Hermer, another person we need to talk about repeatedly on this station and on this show. Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, whose life is spent doing everything in terms of human rights. I would ask you to explain this to me. Why is it that almost every decision that Hermer and Starmer take under the banner of human rights, whether it's about saving migrants who have committed crime and allowing them to stay, whether it's ignoring Russian spying ships, everything, and I've had this morning a lot, seems to be to the detriment of the people of this country, to the detriment of common sense and to the detriment of just anything normal. And I don't understand it. They're spying in our water, Isabel.
Yeah, I mean, it's all so anti-British, isn't it? From Starmer and Hermer and all this whole lot of human rights obsessed leaders, so-called leaders that we've got. I mean, these cables are very vulnerable. Now, that's not just a British thing. In fact, many years ago, about 10 years ago, one Rishi Sunak wrote a brilliant research paper on the vulnerability of underwater cables. And these are the tiny little, really thin kind of wires, basically, that are incredibly easy to cut. And they carry 90% roughly of the UK's internet. This is not unique to Britain. You can get maps of where the cables are. I'm not sure how much spying is actually needed, but it's a classic way of waging what's called hybrid warfare. Not obviously out there attacking us, but yeah, just snip away at a little cable and suddenly it causes chaos. And it actually happened in this region in the Middle East. I can't remember, roughly about 6 months ago. I think the Houthis were linked to it, and it affected internet capability around this region. So it's a very real thing. And again, a classic Russian device. I think they used it when they initially invaded in Crimea in 2014, cutting off internet cables. So it is to be taken really seriously. And yet all our lot can do is just wang on about human rights and international law and all of that. I don't want to say I don't care about human rights. Of course I do. But the more this government pushes this agenda all day, every day, the more you're just left thinking, we've got this completely topsy-turvy, haven't we?
I think it's a prime example of I think about DEI. I think of mental health. I think of human rights. All important things. But we've gone mad to the point where they've become so obsessive that people use them the whole time to the detriment of common sense. And I'll keep saying that. If you're saying to me, Boris Johnson, I don't agree with much that he says anymore, but he wrote in the Mail today, we should board those Russian ships and show them that it is our water and we are, protecting ourselves. But, at the same time, Isabel, I mean, you make a joke. I make a joke about HMS dragging your feet. It's in a port in the East Mediterranean. The war started 5 weeks ago, and the Americans have said Artemis 2 around the moon, further in space, and they're back home tomorrow, and that bloody ship still hasn't got there. It's embarrassing. That is not what Britain was. And I know all the people who say, we can't hark back to the old days. But the very basics of what made us, apologies for this, great, have disappeared, right? Gone.
I don't think this is at all about harking back to the old days. On the contrary, it's about equipping our country and our people for a very different new world in which borders can be crossed and transgressed incredibly easily, especially if you're talking about coming into the UK, pretty little border control at all. We've got mass movement of people all over the world and a very, very unstable situation. So, don't patronise those of us who want to see Britain properly defended and Britain playing an active and influential part on the world stage by trying to say that we're harking back to the old days. No, what we don't want is the UK to become consigned to international global irrelevance and vulnerability in a very, very dangerous era. That's the reality. It's not about harking back to the old days. That is such a lazy left-wing narrative designed to gaslight and smear us, and those arguments, they don't carry any water at all.
We're going to get to an amazing investigation into shoplifting in a sec, but I want you to be, are you on the edge of your seat, because you're going to be incredibly surprised by what I'm about to tell you. I don't want you to fall off, Isabel. We came in today to a poll that says that 66% of this country think that Starmer's the worst Prime Minister ever and should resign immediately and call a general election. I mean, I was utterly shocked by that, because 33% seem to think he's any good.
Yeah, what's that all about? I mean, are they children, maybe toddlers, or people that just have lost any engagement in British politics at all? Yeah, I don't know. It's like all these polls. I think I saw a poll yesterday in which 16% of people, it's a really low poll for Labour. I mean, they're really right down there at rock bottom. 16% of people are still enthusiastic about voting Labour. Who are they? Well, I can answer that question. They are welfare dependents who are benefiting massively under this government from huge hikes in their benefits payouts, which the rest of us hardworking alarm clock Britain are not getting. Our listeners, our viewers are people that get up early, they're grafting away, and they see nothing but their taxes going up. Did you see yesterday, Jeremy? It's an extraordinary story about these top London attractions and how much they cost if you're a hardworking person paying out of your old pocket, and then the special sweet deals you get if you're on universal credit.
Yeah.
things like the Tower of London, where it costs well over £100 to bring in a family, mum, dad, 2 kids, if you're a normal taxpayer trying to pay your way. But if you're on universal credit, you can come in for less than a fiver. That's not necessarily the government setting that. I'm not sure. In some cases, these may be private companies, but it just gives you an indication of why so many people in our country feel so fed up. And
Do you know, there's a word, and I'm so with you, but a great example by you, and I mean that. I'm so with you. It's just unfair. And if you stand in the face of one of those, you know, people who go, you don't know what you're talking about, these are refugees, war-torn countries, the mass unemployed, blah, 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 you go, OK, we want to do right by people who are genuinely from war-torn countries. Think what this country did for Ukraine. I'm really happy to pay into a system that says to the mentally ill and the disabled and those who cannot physically work, I'm happy to pay my taxes. But why can't you lot understand that alarm clock Britain, millions of people are going, I do everything right? I pay my taxes, pay my bills, I go to work. I can't take my kids to the Tower of London. I can't take my kids to Madame Tussauds, but you can, and you aren't ill, and you're gaming the system, and that is unfair. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's unfair.
It's unfair, but our Labour MPs just don't get it, do they?
Well, I think they're trying to get elected. I think they absolutely get it. I think they're trying to appeal to people who are dependent on a government that will increase their benefits.
And that is I'm afraid, the cynical fact of the matter, isn't it? And you can also use that as an explainer for why they keep on bringing people in, more people in who are dependent on the state, whether that's students from Gaza. There was an extraordinary outcry, quite rightly, a couple of weeks ago when a young woman from Gaza took to the internet to say, I'm coming to Britain, I've got a special arrangement to come and study at university, I'm bringing my whole family, I'm fundraising. And everyone was like, hang on a minute, what are you doing coming to the UK as bringing dependents with you? And this is where we're at. But these are people that are kind of baked in Labour Party or perish the thought Green voters. And so Labour's got a kind of electoral interest in keeping up this racket. And this is the story of the run up to the next general election, horribly far away though it is. It's, are there enough alarm clock Brits to actually overcome the number of benefits claimants that will bother getting out of their beds, not something that those that are taking the mickey out of the system are necessarily that keen on doing? Can alarm clock Brits outvote the benefits, the welfare scroungers? That's the question.
Completely brilliant. Now, Talk conducted another one, amazing piece of work from you. An investigation into Britain's growing shoplifting epidemic following that story that captured everybody's imagination last week. Walter Smith, 54, had worked in Waitrose for 17 years. He's in Clapham Junction, where there had been problems on the street with youths. As a security guard, he decided to tackle some shoplifter and his mate who were removing expensive Easter eggs and was promptly sacked by Waitrose because that's utterly disrespectful. Ridiculous. He got offered a job by Iceland. Everybody was outpouring, GoFund, everything like that. But it begs the question. Well, it doesn't beg the question. It meant shining a light on a system that now says you can walk into a shop. If you don't take 200 quid's worth, no person's going to do anything about it. Tell me more, Isabel. It's a great piece of work.
So my plucky researcher, Christian, who was also our undercover migrant some months ago, I said to him, how do you fancy a bit of shoplifting, Christian? And being Christian, he said, yeah, I'm up for it. Obviously, we were not going to break the law. We were not intending to remove goods, to deprive the shops of anything. But we wanted to see just how easy it is to get away with a bit of shoplifting in Britain's supermarkets. So we went to 6 of the big supermarkets, including Marks and Spencer, Waitrose again, Tesco, Aldi. We went to those 6. Out of those 6, so Christian went in, and just to cover everything, so there could be no criticism here, because we're not trying to encourage anyone to shoplift. We're not trying to show people how to do it. Unfortunately, we don't really need to show people how to do it because it's pretty easy. What we did is we wrote a letter in each case to these supermarkets And we had the envelope with a letter explaining who we are, what we're doing, and that we don't intend to keep the goods. And just to be sure, we put a £10 note in there in each case, and we took goods only worth less than £10. So we basically paid for the items in case we got caught. So out of the 6 supermarkets, how many do you think challenged Christian? How many of the security guards or any other shoppers actually challenged him? And I should say, he wasn't really trying to hide what he was doing.
I'm going to say none.
I'm afraid to say you're right. So in 6 cases, he walked in, he very obviously took goods, popping them into a rucksack, and just to make it easier for the security staff and for other shoppers, we made him look a bit like a thief. So we gave him a black rucksack, we put a hoodie over him, so he looked a bit dodge. And in some cases, the supermarkets were actually really empty at the time.
Let me play this clip, because I have to say about this lady, she's a mate of mine. These sorts of pieces of work are so good. That migrant piece that you put on YouTube just went through the roof. This is also on Talk's YouTube channel, but just a little clip there of what Isabel's talking about. Have a watch.
Tesco, 3rd time lucky. I took some cereal bars. I took a few other bits and bobs from that same aisle, and I walked straight out the front door, straight through the barrier, past the security guard, and I wasn't stopped again. I did, however, go back in to speak to this security guard. Hi, mate. I'm just letting you know, I'm just basically doing a social experiment. So I've just nicked a load of stuff. I'm going to go and put it back now, yeah? So I'll put the envelope there with the money in, yeah? All right. And now I'll put the stuff back. All right. Yeah? Okay. Cheers, mate. He just said it's almost impossible to stop. He said even when we do catch them, we can't call the police because the police don't do anything. It's absolutely pointless. The police don't even turn up.
Amazing work. How bad, honestly, Isabel, how bad does that look? Wow.
I mean, you know what? In one case, just to really push it a bit, he actually sneaked his way underneath a barrier. So you know how some supermarkets now, they have barriers, so you're supposed to put a receipt in to get out or whatever. He just squeezed under the barrier, you know, like a kind of circus performer, and still no one said anything. And there's some kind of, in one of the supermarkets, an alarm went off as he went out, beep, 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 and he just carried on walking, and still nothing happened. Afterwards, he went back in each case and put the goods back. He was a bit embarrassed, bless him. It was, you know, it was quite a gutsy thing to have done. But the problem was, and here's the thing, that the first one, obviously, he was super nervous. He was really like preparing what to say if he got arrested. As the experiment went on, he just got quite casual about it because it was just easier and easier. And I think that tells you why shoplifting has become so prolific, because once you've got over the hurdle of, oh my God, I'm going to get caught, and you realize I'm definitely not going to get caught, then you can just do it all the time. And that is what we're seeing in our supermarkets. The staff are disempowered, though I must say that what our experiment showed is neither other shoppers nor the staff are really very alert to it. And if we're going to tackle this without pepper guns and pepper sprays and batons and all of that, I think what it needs is everybody to play their part in being more alert to it. Everybody has to call it out. Not enough just to ignore it going on around you.
Great piece of work, guys. That's on Talk's YouTube channel right away. I know I saw the first part of it on Kev. You've seen a clip there. Well worth watching it. Isabel, bless you. Great piece of work. Thank you for being on the show. Our International Talk International editor, Isabel Oakeshott. That's a Talk exclusive, an investigation to Britain's growing shoplifting epidemic on our YouTube channel right now. Thank you, Isabel. Tony, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Tony from North Somerset. After the John Healy speech yesterday and the revelations of Never Air Care flying away to Valencia, I have a little message for both of them. Labour Party, Keir Starmer, John Healy, we see you. We see you. Hopefully for not much longer.
We genuinely are on resignation watch. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Labour MPs, they say, listen, Keir, your position is untenable. This is all about appointing that rat, Peter Mandelson, who faces a criminal investigation.
Can Keir Starmer survive the Mandelson scandal? We have breaking news for you. We've just been talking about, of course, Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff. We've now had another resignation from Number 10. Keir Starmer's Director of Communications, Tim Allen, has now also resigned. The plot is thickening. The noose is tightening.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just to put you in the picture, that amazing piece of work from Talk's international editor, that social experiment, that is on social media. We contacted Tesco's supermarket so they could put their side. They refused to come back to us. Waitrose did, though, and as they say, a spokesman said there is a serious danger to life in tackling shoplifters. They refuse to put anyone's life at risk, and that's why we have policies in place that are very clearly understood and must be strictly followed. As a responsible employer, we never want to be in a position where we are notifying families of a tragedy because someone tried to stop a theft. Nothing we sell is worth risking lives for. That, the response from Waitrose, very much along the same lines of what was said to Walter Smith. I just think there has to be something that gives here. If we're living now in a country where people, the feckless, can just walk into a supermarket and unchallenged, in whatever way that challenge is, before the do-gooders jump up and down, you can just nick stuff, and people who work, alarm corporates who go in and pay, you stand there and you think this isn't right. But the majority of this country has morality. Then you have, you know, are these security guards impotent? Is this because we live in a society where we can't challenge anybody, where, I don't know, the perpetrator of crime seems to be treated better than the victim? I think it's an absolute disgrace. As I also think is a disgrace, by the way, about the fact that a Russian ship is sailing through British waters and we're doing nothing about it. Morning, Lee.
Hello, Jeremy, it's Lee. Good show, mate. Please stop having a go at HMS Dragon. They're doing their best to try and get over there. I understand the wind hasn't been in their favour, so the sails haven't been working, so the whole crew have having to take their turns rowing it. So it's taking its time, mate, but it's getting there. Cheers, mate. Good show.
HMS Dragon still hasn't made Cyprus 5 weeks after a rocket fell very near British-serving men and women and their families. We've got one ship. It's still not there. It's in a port. Brian says we should bring back HMS Dragon to fend off the Russian warship. Christian got it dead right, the producer of this show, about 3 days ago, when he said, Jez, think about this. The Americans have sent a rocket to space that's gone further into space than any rocket in the history of the world, and you know how disinterested I am in that. And it's coming back tomorrow, and HMS Dragon, your feet, still hasn't got there. Morning to Ian in Essex. Starmer has just admitted that our oil prices are controlled by others, and he's apparently doing nothing about it. But he could, of course, get rid of Miliband, cut fuel tax and drill, baby, drill. Who governs the UK, says David Manchester? Miliband or Hermer? It's not Starmer. Starmer's just a boring middle manager of a government that hates Britain. Steve says, fed up Friday? You should I tell you what I'm fed up about? I'm fed up of being fed up. That's how fed up I am. Absolutely right. My favourite text of the morning, just remember John Healy. Vladimir, we see you. We see you, Vladimir. Something about it. Sam and Alison in Barnsley having a lie-in. Really? To the spider on the ceiling, they both say this. We see you. We see you, Mr. Spider. It's 8:30. We're live across the United Kingdom. Deputy and US editor of The Spectator. Been a while. Lovely to have him on. Freddie Gray, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. Lovely to be with you.
Look at you. Are you in America or England, dear boy? What's going on?
I'm in London. I'm in my shed in London.
How's Gove? Is he? We had him on the other day. Is he looking after you? Is he behaving nicely?
He's immaculate. Couldn't be better.
Oh, Freddie, do you play the corporate game? We always love talking to you about America. I'm really interested. Starmer today admitting that he's fed up with Trump, but interestingly, immediately side moves to I'm fed up because working people in the United Kingdom's energy bills are going through the roof because of the Iran war. Now, we know there will be a spike in petrol and oil, But it's a bit rich for a man who spent, well, the first 16 months of his premiership blaming the Tories, in some instances correctly, is now going to blame his crazy net zero ideology pushed by Ed Miliband on a war that's not 5 weeks old, Freddie.
It is crazy. And, I mean, Trump has exposed, I think wrongly, I think disastrously in many ways for the world and for America in many ways too, has exposed Europe and particularly Britain's massive vulnerability on energy. And we cannot blame anybody but ourselves or our government for this massive vulnerability that we have. We are at the really sharp end of an energy price shock, and it's a disaster for Britain. And Ed Miliband, any sane person would see that now is the time to reverse our energy policies, to start drilling, to try and get some energy independence, just a little bit. And yet we are committed to a net zero agenda that, while people say it will eventually achieve some kind of energy independence, it's showing no sign of doing that in the near future, and we are broke and we are in trouble.
But explain to me, we joke and everything, but on a serious note, this is the thing I don't get. I said it earlier. If you're Ed Miliband, whatever your ideology, you know that this country is on the brink financially and that ideology will push it over. You know also that you have the ability to pay off all of those debts underneath our own land. Not only, I mean, fiscally, there's no argument. And yet he is in a senior government role and could indeed end up as the Prime Minister, when it would be quite conceivable to challenge him and say, you are going to bankrupt this country. Do you hate this country? What is it? Why is he prepared, Freddie, to do that? For what is dangerous, man? That doesn't make any sense on any level, whatever your politics.
I think he's bought into an ideology that sees a kind of electrified future, probably dominated by China, and relying on renewable energies, or sotto voce, nobody listens to it, but hydrocarbons from elsewhere that we don't have to think about. And against that, he sees a kind of hydrocarbon world dominated by America and possibly Russia as well. And he's very much wanting to side with the Chinese electrified future.
But then look at what's happened this morning, which is why it's got this real sort of interest in this story. OpenAI, a massive tech company from America, were investing £31 billion in the northeast of England, a deprived area for many. They were going to create thousands of jobs. They've pulled out this morning, citing energy costs. I mean, how much more proof in your mind, Freddie, does Ed Miliband need, or will he never, ever listen until he's out of office?
I think somebody's got to get rid of him. Sadly, it's not going to be Keir Starmer, and the British electorate are not going to have a chance to do it anytime soon, it looks like. So there's nothing that can be done about Ed Miliband. And in many ways, Ed Miliband is the biggest problem Britain faces at the moment, because he will not budge on this when the world is crying out for him to budge on it. And every voter knows that energy prices are a serious problem. And even if we have to get back to a net zero agenda, at the moment for the next few years, we have to find energy. We have to find cheaper energy, or this country is not going to grow, and it's going to suffer terribly in a very difficult world.
You've done an awful lot in your career, both at home and abroad. I just want to watch his face. This Russian ship has driven my audience nuts this morning, and basically Herma's getting it, and quite rightly too. So we've got a ship that's sailing in British waters, and it's picking up information. We know it's spying, and our Attorney General, well, our Defence Secretary says, we see you, we can bloody see it as well, John. But the Attorney General says, we can't possibly go abroad or put aboard the ship or put our feet down, because that would be against international human rights. Can I just ask you, as the deputy editor of The Spectator, when is this government's human rights agenda, excuse, whatever, ever going to be fair enoughly? When's it going to be for the British people, but the people born here, the people that live here, the people who go, hold on a minute, that's not fair at all. Why do we keep backing the people that we shouldn't back to the detriment of our people?
Well, it's a ridiculous situation, and obviously international lawyers don't quite understand how voters feel. I think,
or don't care, or don't care,
or actively hate them.
Yeah.
I think all those things are true. I think on the Russian ships, I think what's so embarrassing is this kind of vainglorious attempt to sound tough.
Yeah.
By saying we see you. And do you think Vladimir Putin is going to go, oh, what a disaster, we got spotted by John Healey?
I'm with you. I end up getting embarrassed. I'll tell you what Benedict Spence said this morning. I'd love your take on this, Freddie. He said it could well be energy. It could well be a bit of pressure from Trump. He said it could also be that America, that company has heard Starmer over the last few months say, I want to be closer to the EU, and they know absolutely the amount of regulation that's tied in with that, and that scared them off. But again, if that's true, that's down to this government.
Well, yes, I think certainly there is an attempt to kind of use Trump and the kind of chaos of the Iran war to revive a push to push Britain back into the European Union. That's definitely going on. And European leaders generally are getting pretty excited about standing up to Trump. They often sound quite pathetic when they do it. But I think the last few weeks, there's been this real, OK, now we're going to say out loud what we've actually been saying out loud for 4 years, but let's pretend we haven't.
This is very interesting. We've got a new clip from Donald. He's asked about Iran charging tolls. This is, again, completely barking. Have a watch, have a listen.
Mr. President, are you allowed to, or are you willing to end this conflict with Iran charging tolls for passage through the strait?
Us charging tolls?
Iran.
What about us charging tolls?
Is that something you're considering?
I'd rather do that than let them have them, right? Why shouldn't we? We're the winner. We won, okay? They are militarily defeated.
Freddie, I've always said that not everything he says is in any way right. I've also said that what he did was he captured the imagination of the American people by saying he would put them first. Let's not forget he won by saying no foreign wars and a better economy at home. There will be people who say that he did the right thing. He highlighted the mad mullahs and the proxy terrorist groups. But there are others who say he has capitulated and is in a dark, dark place. What's your take?
I think it's a terrible mess. Everybody inside the administration knows it. A lot of people are frantically briefing the New York Times that it was all Bibi Netanyahu's fault and he bullied Trump into it and Trump went along with it against their advice and so on. I think on oil and the Strait of Hormuz, it is certainly true that China's a big part of Trump's thinking. And so in the last year or so, he has gone after China's possible weak points on energy. Sorry to bore on about energy, but
no, not at all.
Everything in the world is part of it. And I think, you know, you look at Venezuela and you look at Iran, he is going for countries that supply China with cheap energy. And it hasn't necessarily worked, but that is certainly the key strategic thinking, is trying to push back on China's growing dominance over the world. And that's what he's talking about there. He's saying, well, you know, rather than Iran charging a toll, we'll charge a toll, and that will mean China will have to pay a toll. It's crazy. I mean, he's also talked about a joint venture with Iran.
I know.
As though the Iranians will enter into that gladly. And possibly using crypto payments to Iran.
Quick question, because breakfast is mad and we love having you on. It seemed quite positive for a year. People said it would all fall apart. Will this destroy his legacy, whatever that legacy is? Will this be the thing that people will talk about forever, about the second term of Donald J. Trump?
I fear so. I think all American presidents, even Donald Trump, get stuck in the Middle East. Obama did, Bush did. I think it's a real problem for his presidency, yes.
Good man. Lovely to have you on. Freddie Gray, Deputy Editor of The Spectator. Thank you very much indeed. 20 to 9, this is Talk Breakfast. Morning, Steve.
Steve from Manchester. Just want to mention about the cost of fuel. And we're saying that, you know, that we haven't seen the true cost of what's going on in the Gulf at the moment, down at the Gulf of Hormuz. I'd just like to say that I think we already have seen quite a bit of it. 4 weeks ago, I was paying £1.48.9 for a litre of diesel. I filled up yesterday. It's now at the same garage. It's now £1.98.9. That's a massive hike in 4 weeks. And we're saying We've not even reached the pinnacle yet. God's sake, man, how much is it going to cost us? I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's like a 25% increase in the cost. Something like that. My maths is not that good. Anyway, great show, mate. See you later.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Alex Phillips in at 10 o'clock. Ian Collins from 1 and Kev standing great on drive time from 4 o'clock. That's how we line up today. Very interesting article in the Mail, page 4. The UK braced for bumper summer of small boat crossings, of course. The good news just continues on a fed-up Friday. We say a very good morning to Tony Smith, former head of the UK Border Force. Tony, how are you, my friend?
Very well, thanks, Jeremy.
It's not rocket science, is it, to be honest? Macron has rebuffed Mahmoud's attempts at trying to get any sort of success for the millions we seem to pay France. We see footage every day of the gendarmes smoking a cigarette as people run by, get on the boats. We had that tragedy yesterday. Again, 4 people dying, and still, Tony, allegedly the best brains in the world, cannot sort out something that... Honestly, maybe you'd laugh at me. I could sort it in 24 hours. I honestly, it is beyond me. It is beyond me, sir.
Yeah, I think we've got to stop relying on the French, haven't we, Jeremy? I think the last government learned that. Priti Patel went over there with the same intent that Shabbat and Mahmoud did, which is to suggest that, you know, we, the Border Force, are quite happy to come over and help. We know we've got vessels, we'll pick them up and... you can come on our boats, we can come on yours. We'll return them all to France, which is a safe country after all. And we'll even help you, you know, we give you some money to build a detention centre in Calais and help you with enforcement so you can start deporting a lot of these people yourselves, because actually they probably shouldn't be in France either. None of that has come to fruition. The French are clearly allowing vessels to, once they're in the water, to continue, even though there are fatalities. Jeremy, that's a crime scene. That dinghy should have been surrounded by French police. Everybody should have been taken back, including the dinghy. There should be an inquiry. There's potentially manslaughter or murder in there that they've done nothing about. We end up doing that. The boat gets over to the UK and then we have to seize the boat. We have to interview everybody on it to find out how these people drowned and send a report back to the French. It's ridiculous. And we can no longer, I think, continue to suggest that we can rely on the French government.
I hate that word. And Tony, sort of just indulge me for a minute, because I've been saying the following thing for 2 years, and you were right. You were there, so you might laugh in my face. What galls me, and so many of alarm clock Brits galls them as well, is this complete incompetence, it seems, or inability of this government to do anything on their own. And Rwanda was Rwanda. Paying the French is paying the French. Do you know what I'd do? Don't laugh at me. I know you had a border force. I would, I would buy the biggest liner and I would completely recondition it. I would put it in the channel. I would train a crack team of 1,000 Border Force agents, like within an inch of their lives, over 6 months. I would put the Navy in the Channel. I don't care if this is unpopular. Nobody who is illegally coming, because you wouldn't come on a boat if you were legal, would be allowed to set foot in the United Kingdom, because at that moment, of course, we give them everything. They would be very carefully picked up, taken to the liner and interviewed, and a decision would be made in 24 hours. If there is justification to stay, red carpet. If not, you're going to a detention centre. I don't know. Please don't... I'm not being disrespectful. The Outer Hebrides, I don't know the full... I've no idea where the conditions will not be a 4-star favourable hotel, but will send a very strong message to that person and thus to all the people they text at home that the United Kingdom is not a soft touch anymore, Tony. Why is that not common sense?
Well, it's certainly not beyond the realms of possibility, Jeremy. It's certainly something that ought to be considered. The problem, as you know, is the legal framework that we have. The Border Force and the Border Security Command have to operate within the law, not outside of the law. And the current state of the law is that once somebody reaches the 12-mile zone, then they are entitled to claim protection in this country, and we cannot send them back until that claim has been considered. Now, I've disputed that for a while. There is legislation already in place to deny an asylum application from somebody coming from a safe third country.
Who decides the 12-mile space, then?
That's an international regulation of how the law of the sea, how the sea is mapped. So we've got 12 miles. Once they're in that 12-mile zone, they are our responsibility. That's the problem we have. So now they're our responsibility. Your question is, well, what do we do with them? Now, ideally, we would detain all of them and deport all of them. You can only detain somebody if you've got a realistic prospect of removal under the Hardy Al Singh judgment of 1983, believe it or not. So the Border Force cannot detain them unless they can remove them. They cannot send them.
So why wouldn't you put the Navy on the 12-mile line and say you're not coming in? And the liner there as well.
You could. So there are. I mean, you could try the barrier approach, and you could say we're going to put a barrier across there to stop you getting across. The danger then becomes the law of the sea, because there's a real risk, given the state of these dignitaries, that if you are involved in someone drowning, you and I will be spending the next few years talking about an inquiry into the Border Force for killing people. That's the state of the law that we're in. So we need a law, Jeremy, which I think you know, which involves changing the human rights legislation, changing protection legislation, so that we can do the things you want us to do.
Do you understand, and I love talking to you because you were there and you're very practical about it, do you understand something that I get told every day? That every time the human rights law is pulled out by Hermer and his cronies, it seems, to alarm clock Britain tone, to be to the detriment of people born here who work hard and live their lives correctly. In fact, the human rights law, it supports the Russian ships in the water, it supports migrants, it doesn't seem to sort the people in this country who pay their taxes and are frankly hacked off with the way their lives are going.
Yeah, so I think the problem we have is that human rights legislation extends to everybody, regardless of your immigration status, regardless of where you're from. They have the same rights as everybody else. It's based on the 51 Convention, as you know, but I was an officer back in the day in the 70s and the 80s. Well after those conventions were signed, nobody claimed protection under human rights. If they turned up with a dodgy passport, Jeremy, I'd send them straight back on the first plane with a letter, really. We were able to do that. It's been the way that convention has been interpreted and translated into statute in the UK, primarily through the Human Rights Act in 1998. That has really emasculated the Border Force. And I think it's really important people understand that. I understand people having to go out the Border Force and you're just a taxi service, you're a bunch of... They're not, Jeremy. I know them. They are keen to do a good job. They join the Border Force to enforce the law. But the key is they have to have a law that they are able to enforce. The law that we have at the moment demands that if somebody mentions asylum or human rights, then we have to bring them ashore for that application to be considered. And therein lies the main problem.
I think the Border Force are like the police. I think it's very easy to attack the people on the ground doing the job. This comes from above, and unless above has the decency or the courage to change it, the thing is, Tony, if you put your head above the parapet on a show like this, you're going to be criticised. I don't mind having a debate with anybody about this, right? If This country was based on doing the right thing. And I will say again and again, as I do about benefits, really happy to pay my taxes for people who can't help themselves. Really happy, as with Ukraine, to do right by people who are really suffering. But let's just, for goodness sake, even to those lefties who won't, they'll stand in my face and disagree with me. These people are coming here unvetted because we are soft and we are giving them far more than any other country. And whilst that was okay for years, because morally Great Britain was great and all that, this country is skint, its people are frustrated and they feel it's unfair and something needs to change. Tony, always a pleasure, my friend. Great to have you on. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Tony Smith, former head of the UK Border Force. Are we going to an ad break? I wish somebody would explain me or not. Somebody could speak to me. Oh, we're going to a voice note. Morning, John.
Morning, Jazz. John here from Derbyshire. Great show, as always. He's fed up. I'm fed up. My bill will be in 50% more. The business bill will be 50% more. His lies, his treachery, his backtracking, the fact that he has took the country on its knees within 18 months. I'm completely and utterly fed up with this Labour government. They're a joke. We need them gone.
We genuinely are on resignation watch. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Labour MPs, they say, listen, Keir, your position is untenable. This is all about appointing that rat, Peter Mandelson, who faces a criminal investigation.
Can Keir Starmer survive the Mandelson scandal? We have breaking news for you. We've just been talking about, of course, Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff. We've now had another resignation from number 10. And Keir Starmer's Director of Communications, Tim Allen, has now also resigned. The plot is thickening. The noose is tightening.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, it's 5 to 9, and I've decided, well, actually, Christian has, in the last hour of the programme, we're going to base it entirely around our Defence Secretary, who yesterday, with this bloody great Russian ship in the Channel, came out with this extraordinary phrase even. Thank you.
And to President Putin, I say, we see you. We see your activity over our cables and our pipelines. And you should know that any attempt to damage them will not be tolerated and will have serious consequences.
We see you. Wherever you are, alarm clock Brits, at work, at home, in the road, what do you see? In the final hour, there will be a prize. I'm desperate. We will see. We see you, Vladimir. We see you. What do you see, my friends? What do you see out of your window, out of your car window, out of your lorry window? What do you see at the office? What do you see about your life? What do you see about... The best one so far is the couple were having a lion in Barnsley and said, spider on the ceiling, we see you. 87222 or 03444 99000. D says, great show. Why not send Polanski to ask Putin to politely ask him to move his ship? That could work. Margaret, we see you. Yeah, listen, we see you. Let's have it. We'll do that in a minute. Let's go and do some sport. We haven't done it for ages. Ryan, Scott, Douglas, Talk Sport, Bet Spokesman. Let's just play the jingle quickly if we could. That'd be great. Oh, we're not playing jingle. Ryan, good morning.
I wish we did have the jingle. Maybe I'll do a little sing-song for you or something like that, but
No,
I don't have anything prepared.
don't build your part up. I mean, I think technically we've looked rubbish the last 20 minutes, but that's my fault, because I keep expecting people to do things. Now, just very quickly, because you're not political, it's the Grand National on Saturday. And you know I know a bit about horses, right?
Yeah, you owned Black Courton, didn't you?
I did.
Ran at Aintree. Didn't run in the actual Grand National itself.
I was lucky enough to be an owner of a horse called Black Courton many years ago, which won 17 of its 35 races, a Grade 1 winner, at Boxing Day in the Quarter Star Novices Chase. It won the big race at Ascot as well. So I know a bit about horse racing, although I have to say, without getting political, Zach Polanski wants to ban horse racing. That's in the paper today. Last year, Nick Rocket, of course, wins at ridiculous odds, 33-1. He's out this year. The Grand National isn't, fence-wise. I know a lot of people won't like this, as it was. It's been modified. And frankly, most horses have a chance.
Yeah, exactly that. There's less horses in the race as well, so you're absolutely right. There's still, the Beecher's Brook and the Chair and Canal Turn. It's still across 4 miles. I believe there's 34 horses this year, 2.5 furlongs, 30 fences to jump still. So it is still, a very competitive race. It is. It's well dominated by Ireland in terms of entries and runners. I know you'll know that, Jeremy. William Mullins as well always has a strong hand. But as you say, Nick Rocket had to get pulled out yesterday. So it's a shame for him. It's a shame for the race as well. He was, of course, last year's winner. He was aiming to make it back-to-back like Red Rum in the 1970s. You'll know that, 3 in a row. But Iron Maximus now is the favourite, Jeremy, at 7-1, who's a previous winner, won 2 years ago. So, of course, you're going to look there. Second in the betting Panic Attack, who's a mare. A mare hasn't won this race since the 60s, I believe. I couldn't tell you the year. My knowledge isn't that good, but I know it's that decade for sure.
63.
Is it really? There you go. And this is why you're here. You're the man.
No,
Jeremy.
I'm not at all. It's fine.
Well, but the thing is, we talk about the favourites. We talk about second in the betting. And I've been told by a lot of people they're looking at Jerry Colombe, Gordon Elliott, owned horse, of course. So there's a few places you can look, and that's 25-1. And it's one of those races, as you say, 33-1, 25-1.
Yeah, you're right. I'll stick my head above the parapet. Grange Clare West, that came third last year, is weighted to reverse the form with Iron Maximus. Not many horses. Tiger Roll, yes, and Red Rum, of course, win more than one national. That looks a good bet. It is fun. It's a great spectacle. Some people hate it. I love it. I'm going to ask you one thing that's completely irrelevant as we look at Aintree there. Wolves or West Ham tonight, and be very careful what you say, Ryan.
Oh my gosh, you've got to put me on the spot like that. West Ham are going to win.
Good boy. Invite this kid back anytime he wants to be on this show. Ryan, thank you. From Talk Sport Bet, Grand National this week, on all the coverage, all the football, all the sport on our sister station, the only place. Forget all the rest of them. Make it Talk Sport. Good man. Thank you very much indeed. What is it? Nearly 9 o'clock. We've got the news on the way. Sharon, good morning.
Morning, Jez. I think I've said this before, but why are we... This guy is one guy. Why are we... Can't somebody just go in and say, no, you're doing a really crap job? We're not talking about just a bit of trouble coming our way. This guy is causing catastrophic trouble, and we're all going to feel it. He's just one guy. Let somebody go in with a white coat on and drag him out and say, bye, you're absolutely loony, don't come back. I just can't believe that this one man is doing this to this country and nobody can do anything about it. Why? Good show, Sharon from Yorkshire.
Of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning all around the clock to late at night, to the point where on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Just got 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. You're very welcome to Talk Breakfast. It is the home. Look at my wires hanging out. It's the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock, Brett. What are you waking up to? Well, you're waking up to lots of news. There was a poll out this morning which said that 66% of this country want Keir Starmer to resign immediately and call a general election. I'm asking, are you one of the 33% who didn't enter that poll? Would love to hear from you. Redhead strikes again. Listen, this is just a fact. OpenAI, a massively successful American tech company that have vowed to, well, actually invest £31 billion in a new office here in the United Kingdom. It was going to create masses of jobs in the northeast, pulled out overnight, citing high energy costs. Some are saying that's down to net zero madness. Others are saying that the Americans were concerned about more regulation as this Labour Party and government moves us closer to a European reunion. But what's really got you going this morning is the fact that there's a Russian warship in the Channel. And it seems to be going up and down, and there is obviously concern that some of the cabling underneath, which could be cut, or there's just lots of security and stuff, and we're not able to do anything about this ship. Not because we've only got one ship, which is still on its way to Cyprus, the HMS Dragon, but actually because Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, who is to human rights what... I can't even come up with an analogy, to be honest. Anyway, he's decided that we shouldn't board the ship. We shouldn't tell the Russians that they need to get out of our waters, because that would be against international law, which yet again seems to me, and I could be wrong, argue with me, against everything to do with being or coming from Great Britain. Anyway, yesterday, the Defence Secretary had a chilling warning for Vladimir Putin.
To President Putin, I say, we see you. We see your activity over our cables and our pipelines, and you should know that any attempt to damage them will not be tolerated and will have serious consequences.
We see you. God help us, says Mark in Suffolk. What a vacuous statement with no intent whatsoever. We have nothing to action against these threats anyway. This loathsome government are failing this country. Tim in Suffolk. I see the wife of a UK veteran embarrassed by idiots like Healy. She asks that you let him know that we, the British public, see him. Damon in Wigan, and it is all right to laugh in these moments of national embarrassment. I'm looking around my living room that is in desperate need of being decorated, and I have only this message: I see you. Richard says, I look around our navy and we've got no ships. I see you. It's great. I do love it. 87222. Start your message. I mean, here's a more serious. Oh, hold on, John. Is he speaking live? We see you.
Our allies within the Middle East to reinforce the air defences and then deterrence beyond that. But I think we're undoubtedly in this new era of defence because of the new era of threat. And I think I would just, if I may, just say, look, you've got a government that recognises this, that is responding to this. We published our strategic defence review just after your last conference. We're already implementing the recommendations of that. We have stepped up and we lead the Ukraine Contact Defence Group of nations supporting Ukraine. We're co-leading the Coalition of the Willing with France. You've seen us sign new bilateral agreements, deep bilateral agreements with other, particularly European nations. You've seen us win a record level of defence exports for this country, and you've seen us sign 1,200 major contracts. And then finally...
yeah, we've seen all that, John. Can I just, honestly, I know that I have critics, many, and that's fine. Is it me? You could put Starmer and Healy and Rachel Reeves in the same box. They all look nervous. I never buy that they mean what they're saying. I never buy that there's any conviction, even if I disagreed with them, right? Even if I disagreed with them, I would think there is conviction. We've got no army, no navy and no air force, John Healy, and I don't lay this entirely at Labour's door. 14 years of Tory cuts have left us defensiveness. And I do not in any way support everything that Donald Trump says or does, but he did highlight a massive problem that he and America had spent thousands, millions, billions on NATO security, and the countries need to step up. Now, we'll be told there isn't money, the country's in a crisis. Well, drill, get some money and pay our debts off, because the British public need to see that we are defended. And then alongside it, you've got Herma going, do you know what? The rights of Russians to spy on us are more important than the security of Britain. Or the rights of an illegal migrant who's committed an attack are more important than the person who was a victim. That's what I will never understand. And maybe I come from a different planet. Starmer, Britain's in decline. We, the electorate, say this. We see you, says Rachel. Dave is in South Gloucestershire. Just realised we cannot stop a Russian spy ship or illegal tankers because it would be against international law. We cannot challenge or stop shoplifters because it would probably be against international law. I'm a lot clearer on what I can go ahead and do in my life. Thank you very much indeed. Jeff says, can someone tell Healy it's not bloody hide and seek and publish image of it? It's just pointless. It's like showing Putin we're on to him. Morning, Jeremy. Starmer to poker game. Herma to Starmer. I see you. Starmer to Herma. I'll raise you for telling off Russia. George in Leicester. Brilliant. 0344 499 1000. Oh, Jez, if we have 6 Type 45 destroyers like the HMS Dragon, where the hell are the other 5? Paul in Norwich. Oh, they're probably in port or being reconditioned, or the people who were supposed to be working on them are on... do you know what? I've no idea. 9:10. Delighted to be joined by my next guest, former Security Minister under Gordon Brown, Labour peer, House of Lords, Admiral, Intelligence and Security Committee as well, Lord Alan West. Alan, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Not too bad.
Nice wallpaper behind you, my friend. Very nice.
Very kind. That's why I got no money. My wife decided to stick it up.
That's very Boris, that is. Are you telling me? That's very Boris. Expensive wallpaper, isn't it, Alan? Mate, on a serious note, I'm all for different political views, and you will have heard me seriously say that the cutting of our armed forces goes back many years and can be laid fully, not fully at the Tories, but massively at the Tories, and it was an easy cut. As a man, as a former admiral, and all that you've done, right? When you look at how pathetically inadequate our armed forces are, and I'm not lying, the HMS... Somebody said to me today, HMS Dragon is in port in the East Mediterranean, still hasn't got to Cyprus. The Americans have been round the bloody moon in the time this boat still hasn't got to Cyprus. It's an embarrassment, Alan, isn't it?
I have to say, I think the fact it took us so long to deploy one ship out to that region was a disgrace. And there are a number of factors. One of the ones is our Whitehall and our senior civil servants and politicians seem to have lost their understanding of the importance, for example, of deployment of maritime power and of power anyway. It's all very well, having wonderful soft power, but actually you need to have hard power as well. And as you rightly say, over a number of years, this has been cut. The coalition started the biggest cut by cutting our military by a third in 2010. I mean, it was... And I don't think the British people understood. And then year on year on year, that has happened. And there's no doubt, we are in a parlous state now. But what worries me about spending is that it's all very well for talking the good talk. And John Healey has got lots of good aspects to him as well. He's a good minister, I think. But basically, we have got to spend the money now. And the Prime Minister mentioned this in Munich, and quick as a flash came back and said to Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, right, we've got to move forward to spending. She effectively said no. Well, who's in charge of the government? I think we need to be a little bit stronger and more aggressive.
Well, that comes down to leadership, and you and I might disagree on this, but I don't think he has the political antennae. I don't think he's got the leadership that says I'll make decisions that are unpopular. I agree with you, and I almost feel like betrayed by successive governments who've seen it as an easy cut, and that, if you say that, Alan, too loudly, people go, "What are you talking about?" But we used to have pride. The armed forces, I have pride in the job they do, but I think they're being let down by politicians and by spend. And Healey, I mean, let me ask you, Admiral, seriously, yesterday, In layman's terms, you know more than me. Russian ship, backwards and forwards. We see you, says John Healey. Lord Hermer, we can't do anything about it because that's against international bloody law. Is it not against international law to be sailing through our grounds, spying, and we know that? I don't understand.
Well, there are two aspects here. The ones he's talking about are the ones that are breaking the sanctions, and we absolutely should have done something earlier. We still, although people are always denigrating our country, we run global shipping from London in terms of insurance and all the rules. If we couldn't find a way of knowing why they're breaking the rules, and they were because they weren't properly flag stated initially, we should have acted straight away. We have already in this country a thing called the Maritime Counter-Terrorist Group. That's SBS, helicopters, the on-station frigate, ready to go and take over ships. We should have done this 2 years ago. We should have done this straight away. It's no good pontificating about things. These people, these bastards like Putin and others, only understand action. And what he's doing, effectively in the old days, would have meant a war. I mean, the things he's been doing are appalling. And we are being pussyfooting around, and that's no good. They do not admire people saying, oh, I'm getting this all right and the law's correct. They admire action, and we've got an absolute right to stop this shadow fleet. We've got an absolute right to stop him messing about in our waters, looking at cables and things, and we jolly well should take action.
I have to apologise for the language. Don't even react to that, Alan. That's not a problem with me, but we have to do that. Can I ask you something? Why is this government unwilling, and I'm going to use that word, you're going to say incapable, unwilling to stand up and be counted? It is embarrassing. We surely should do something, should we not? But we're too busy placating people, aren't we, to actually stick our heads above the parapet and say, we're going to tell you this isn't acceptable to the United Kingdom.
Well, I think, to be fair, John Healey was saying that, but he's saying it in a rather more elegant way than I can, I'm afraid. I'm just a rather bluff sea dog. You've had to apologise for me already.
You old sea dog, Westy. You old sea dog man. I love that. You sound like the old man used to. But as a Labour peer, does it not frustrate you how this government... I mean, let's talk in a wider context. I mean, how do you feel after 21 months of a Labour government with a man who came in with a huge, huge majority and now is, according to a report today, 66% of this country want him out now? That's how unimpressed they are with Keir Starmer. What are your thoughts?
Well, I stay very much focused on the defence side of life, as you can imagine. I think there have been some rather unfortunate decisions. However, I have to say it would be very foolhardy for our nation to get rid of him now. If there was a sort of new leadership election in the Labour Party, that would go on forever almost. If we had a general election, God knows what would happen. I mean, I think we'd end up really losing our way. We need to press on with some of the things that are being done. There is no doubt before the Ukraine war started, and certainly before this war in Iran started, a lot of the indicators were coming in the right line in terms of our economy. And I think we need to be really wary of going down the route of... I mean, a general election would be a disaster at the moment, absolute disaster.
But I think if you speak to a lot of people, they feel that we are heading for disaster anyway. And yes, of course, we'll keep it to defence. But if you're spending 10 or 12 billion a month on interest rates and you continue to raise taxes and your public services are in the toilet, you have to look at the whole thing. I am interested, though, from a military point of view. The Navy barred from approaching or going on board these ships, the embarrassment of HMS Dragon. Somebody told me yesterday that the combined Army, Air Force and Navy is less in its personnel than people who have come into this country illegally under this Prime Minister. What's the answer? You said we need to spend more. I put this to you. If the country's skint, why doesn't your Prime Minister do the only thing he should do, which is drill in the North Sea, pay off his debts and spend money on what needs spending on, which is defending this great nation of ours, or once great nation?
Well, the answer is we do need to spend money, and we need to spend it quickly. They keep talking about money being spent in sort of 2030 and 2020. That is no good.
So where do you get it from? Where do you get it from, Alan?
Well, I'm afraid what you have to do is you have to either increase taxation or you have to borrow it or you have to take it out of welfare and things like that. I know from when I was in government as a minister, if you want money, you can get money. And it was very interesting at the time of the Falklands. I remember my ship was damaged and before the Falklands and was being repaired. So I went up to London, and there was the Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher. This was before the task force was dispatched. And people were asking me, oh, do you think we will actually fight? And I said, yes. I'll tell you why. Because the Prime Minister has released £2.75 billion from the contingency. She went bang and spent the money. You know, governments have to take action. They must spend the money.
So you're telling me there is money to... You're telling me that there is money available right now to this government to improve our defence spending?
You can always find money.
Then I hope you're banging down your Prime Minister's door every day as a Labour peer telling him to do that, because I agree with you absolutely wholeheartedly. I think that... I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I would have thought that the number one thing about being in charge or a government is to protect its people, isn't it?
Well, governments say that. I mean, actually, the coalition said that as they cut us by a third. You know, the Tories
I don't deny that, by the way, and I think that was Cameron copping out to the Liberal Democrats, who obviously had them. I completely agree. And if not that you would, maybe you're a busy man, but if you do listen to this show, I blame the Tories for this as much, if not more, than Labour. I think it is absolutely wrong and catastrophic. But you've just said something that's fascinating, which there is money for any government to utilise if it has the will to do so. And you know, look. When the thing kicked off in Iran, slightly sceptical at the beginning, but Starmer was proven right, OK, that being involved in those sorties by plane was wrong, and it's turned into a disaster. I thought he was wrong about pontificating over the bases. That's just a personal opinion. And it's not... If you say it to some people and they go, what do you want, to return to those days when Britain used to just be a huge army and take control? No, I want us to be able to defend ourselves and not look like a complete embarrassment on the international stage.
I mean, the thing that amazes me about her, I think it was a ridiculous thing to do, to go to war the way Trump did, without talking to the American people, without talking to any of his allies, you know, and it ended in that result. It was quite clear that the Straits of Hormuz would be closed.
Yeah.
I find it bizarre that all this talk going on, everyone seems to not realise the bulk of the deep water routes in and out of the Gulf go through Omani waters, not Iranian waters. I mean, how extraordinary that Trump is happy to let Iran effectively control the shipping when it's in the waters of Oman. I find it quite bizarre. And Oman used to be a really good friend of ours. The reason it was a friend of ours is we stopped the communists taking over there when we had a military that could go and do things. I operated out there a lot of the time. The other Gulf states like us. Now you look, there was not a single Royal Naval ship between Gibraltar and Singapore when this war in Iran started.
How does that make you feel as an ex-admiral?
Well, in January, I stood up in the House of Lords and said what I did when I was First Sea Lord. I sent ships to the sound of the guns. That's what you do. I said there are guns going to be going in the Middle East. This was in January, before the war started. It was quite clear it was going to. And what happened? Our frigate that was there has been paid off. We were bringing back one mine hunter. We had not a single ship. There was no understanding of how important maritime military power is. There was just absolutely no understanding. And to then be scrabbling to get a ship out there, I mean, well, anyway, you can see. I just have to look at my wall.
He's trying not to swear, aren't you? I love you. You're my favourite Labour peer. Alan, thank you. You'll come on again, my friend, yeah?
Well, I'll try.
I know you're busy, so am I. We'll make time for you. Lord Alan West, thank you so much. Former Security Minister under Gordon Brown. He's saying there, against party, you know, just like party lines. We used to lead the maritime set. We were, and now we're nothing. We're not able to deal with a Russian tanker in our own waters. We see you. Actually, let's go back to the London Defence Conference. John Healey, our Defence Secretary. We see you, Johnny.
No. That's number one. Number two, why do I say that? Because I think its real strength is within NATO, it's the group of nations that are ready to act, that are sufficiently like-minded, sufficiently willing to recognise where, particularly in our part of the sort of wider NATO area, there are pressing
Sorry, that's enough. I'm going to balance it, though. Catherine in Cardiff, and this is important, says, I know I'm swimming against the tide this morning, as long as you're not swimming past the Russian tanker, but I must stand up for John Healey. He is, in my mind, the only member of the cabinet for whom I have any respect whatsoever. To me, he is no self-serving narcissist, rather an old-fashioned politician and a decent man trying to do his best while surrounded by fools and idiots. Please give him a break. All right, I won't play it again. Talk breakfast.
I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. His WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy?
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Alex Phillips here from 10, Ian Collins from 1, and Kev O'Sullivan, sounding fantastic on drive time from 4. In a tick, Dr. Dan Diker, President of the Jerusalem Centre for Security and Foreign Affairs. John Healey, this has gone nuts. Vladimir Putin, I see you. We see you. Morning, Cass.
Me and the husband on a walk, wild garlic, four-cornered leek and Alexander's. We see you. Great show, Jez. Great show.
Brilliant. 0344 499 1000. I still love the couple in bed in Barnsley who said, to the spider on the ceiling, we see you. 87222, Philip Bellwood. We watch the news, Starmer, Mad Ed, Rachel Thieves and Healy. We don't want to see you. We don't want to see you ever again unless it's in a circus tent where he can throw eggs at you. Linda Whittingham, good morning. She's in Stalybridge. We see them, Jez, but we can't do bugger all about them for the next 3 years. Steve says, morning, Jeremy. We're in this new era of defence, says John Healey. What does that mean? We're not in any era of defence at all. We haven't got an army. We haven't got a navy. We haven't got anything at all. Essentially, we are rudderless. That's the truth. We see you. We see you. Do we? I've no idea. Jezza says, Mike, loving the show. Thank you. What's his Dorset? Healey sounds so weak in that speech and unconvincing. The other person thought he was actually very strong. But listen, each and everyone to their opinions. 0344 499 1000. Let's just bring in Dr. Dan Diker, President of the Jerusalem Centre for Security and Foreign Affairs. Dan, welcome to the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show. How are you?
Well, it's good to see you, Jeremy. Good to be back on the program. I remember very well being with you a few months ago.
Thank you very much indeed, my friend. Obviously, the situation in Iran, so many different sides. People will say that some people say Iran, quite rightly, the mad mullahs financing proxy terrorist groups have been targeted by Israel and America. This was the right thing to do. Others will say, they will pontificate, like our Prime Minister, who can't decide about anything unless he speaks to the Attorney General. Other sides will say, big mistake by Trump, should have known the Straits of Hormuz would be blocked. No better is it than it was before. Overnight we hear the Iranian Supreme Leader a chilling message saying we will avenge our war dead. Yesterday we saw hundreds of thousands on the street allegedly supporting the regime. I thought they were going to rise up. Overnight we hear Trump orders Netanyahu to be more low-key because the ceasefire's jeopardised because the Israelis are still bombing Lebanon. I mean, today somebody just told me that Netanyahu, you know, forced Trump into the war. What is the truth? Give me some detail, Dan.
Jeremy, what I like about your program is it is rooted in moral clarity. And moral clarity is what we need right now. We are in a continuation of the jihad of 9/11, in which the United Kingdom, in the post-9/11 period, played a key role in protecting the world. You were a tremendous ally of the United States, both in the Iraq and Afghanistan, where Iran, the Iranian regime, was a central player in the 9/11 and post-9/11 jihad. We are continuing. That jihad is continuing against the United Kingdom, not only against the United States and Israel. There are, to give you one example of the moral clarity that indeed is required at this moment, breakfast time in London, is the false claim that there were thousands of people in the street. They're pro-regime people. Well, the regime gets people out into the street, so it looks like it's the public supporting the regime when the vast majority of the Iranian people can't stand the regime. Let's be very clear. The regime mass murdered over 50,000 children, men, and women in the streets of Iran, over 100 cities. So what the Iranian regime wants to do now, Jeremy, and with this I end my opening observation with you, is that they're trying to blame it on the Jews. It's always done very well to blame it on the Jews. The Iranian regime is one of the most sophisticated, cunning regimes in the world, and what they want to do is to drive a bloody wedge between Israel and the United States, isolate the Jews, isolate Israel as being the bad guys, and then use the pressure that the free world is feeling from the Europeans in order to blame Israel, when in fact it is Israel that is driving the war on behalf of civilization against this barbaric messianic death cult called the Iranian regime, which unfortunately number 10 in the Foreign Office has still to designate the regime's IRGC as a international terrorist organization.
I mean, that in itself, to many people, trust me, you can say this to your friends. I've been incredibly vocal about how that should be a terrorist organisation, prescribed straight away. I've also been very, very vocal in my support for the Jewish community. It's an embarrassment to me that 250,000 people in this country who have done so good and had to go through what they went through all those years ago are treated the way they're treated. But let's bring it to something you said. You said a sophisticated and cunning country and leadership and government in Iran. I put this to you, and I think it's important. The criticism of both Netanyahu and Trump is based upon the fact that whether or not you believe that what they're doing is morally right, I do. I absolutely do. And do you know what I said to somebody who disagreed? Go and talk to the mother or father of a young kid killed in the bombing at the Manchester Arena and tell me you don't understand what these proxy terrorist groups do, and they're funded by those mad mullahs. That is a fact. What I'm asking is, was there an did they not take into an account the sophisticated and cunning ability of this country to not allow its people to rise up, to not open the Straits of Hormuz? Because a lot of people in the world might be saying, like me, love the concept, absolutely morally right. Hasn't quite panned out as we were told. No war isn't easy, but if you look at Trump, you would understand the people who are saying he's backtracking at this moment in time. I think that's an honest analogy.
I think it's a very fair observation. There are a lot of open questions, and I think that your former guest, Lord West, made a very important point in emphasizing the key importance of maritime security, particularly now. And you know, the United Kingdom played an incredibly important role in protecting international shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz. And I think that today, I think President Trump may have underestimated, or certainly his administration, his military advisors may have underestimated the degree to which the Iranian regime would use asymmetric warfare in order to bomb, attack, lay mines, killer drones. They don't have a navy left, Jeremy. So how could they be locking up the straits the way they lock it up?
I think I've thought for a long time, and you have to be really careful. I was very, it was very kind of you to say moral clarity. I think it's really important to try and say what you feel on a show like this whilst also understanding. But to me, right, they'd either been planning that, were knowing this was going to happen for years and years and years, which is why they pushed and pushed. The other thing is, you have to say, absolutely, Dan, in response to your comment just then about the military, the Israeli and American military has wiped out the Iranian army, so how can they do this? You have to look towards Russia, you have to look towards China, and you have to wonder whether there has been help towards the Iranian regime. And if there has, then we're talking about a bigger scale problem, which I think, to be fair to Netanyahu and to Trump, they probably understand.
They do very well, indeed. In fact, one of the reasons that it is essential to dismantle this regime is that if it remains standing as it is, it still is today, even though tremendously degraded and weakened, bloodied, wounded, but still standing, it is that the Chinese and the Russians, both of whom have been sending financial resources, defense resources into the Iranian regime, they will be the first ones to show up at the front door of the IRGC, investing tens of billions of dollars to rebuild and re-energize and help the regime to continue to deepen their domination of the Islamic Republic. And this is why the elephant in the room, if you will, is the notion that this regime must be dismantled. The free world will not be able to rest. No stability, no security in international markets if they are allowed to remain. And this is exactly, I think, where if I might say, the frustration of the U.S. administration is towards its greatest European ally, the United Kingdom, which has always led the European community in strategic, military, and moral clarity, and did it. And under Mr. Blair, former prime minister, was simply an inseparable partner. And this is where, I mean, Israel is not part of this argument, of course, but the level of undue condemnation by the European Union and even by Prime Minister Starmer himself towards Israel is unfounded and ill-advised, and it does not reflect the truth on the ground. I will just say that Israel, more than any other country in the free world, has more self-legal constraints before it makes attacks on infrastructures, as it is right now in Lebanon. By the way, let's remember, the war against Hezbollah is the war against the Iranian regime. It's not a separate war. This is the Iranian regime's terror proxy strategy of moving the poison chess pieces from their Iranian Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iranian Hamas in the Gaza Strip, which, by the way, can also affect Egypt, the Iranian Houthis, the Iranian regime, what's called the Popular Mobilization Forces, which the UK fought brilliantly in the post 9/11 period, and as well as as we said in Yemen, as we said the Houthis and others in Latin America. This is a global threat, Jeremy, and I think there is frustration unspoken in Jerusalem, more loudly spoken in the United States, that the United Kingdom has still to play a much more prominent role in beating back this global this global terror threat that still very much exists.
Mate, it's fascinating. You know where I stand. I try and give both sides, but real respect to you, Dan. Thank you. We'll speak to you very soon. I hope Dr. Dan Diker, President of the Jerusalem Centre for Security and Foreign Affairs, always welcome on Talk Breakfast, 22 minutes to 10 o'clock. Jeremy, Starmer said that we were on a war footing. Which is it? Era of defence or war? I'm really confused. Mark from Staffordshire, not being able to board the Russian oil tanker for fear of upsetting others. Same ideology as not stopping the grooming gangs. Yes, Michael, sorry, mate, but if John Healey can see the Russian ship, why can't he see the hundreds of small boats? What a great point that is. Vladimir Putin, we see you. Little boats with migrants on. Where, sorry, maybe if it was a tanker, John Healey would be able to see them. Morning, Phil.
Good morning, Jez. Phil from Hearts. Jeremy, I just popped home for a quick cup of tea. And as I walked in, I said to the wife, "Hey, babe, I see you." She just told me to do one and go back to work.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 20 to 10. Alex Phillips on from 10. Ian Collins from 1. Kev O'Sullivan from 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's the line-up on the home of Common Sense and the home of the alarm clock Brit. Johnny, I see you.
Morning, Jez. It's Johnny in the van. It's John Healey character. He's just as bad as the rest of them. In an interview the other week, he didn't even know how many ships we've got in the Navy. He's just as incompetent as the rest of this Labour shower of... Anyhow, I just don't know how much more we can tolerate of these people. Great show, Jez. Be seeing you.
Tolerate. Bless him. I misspeak the whole time, but Healey went, Vladimir, we see you. We see you, and we will not tolerate this sort of behaviour. It's almost as good as... release the sausages, isn't it? I will never forget Starmer on that. 0344 499 1000. Dave in Gloucester was in agreement with Lord West up to the point when he said that if we had a general election now, it would be a disaster and God knows where we would be and have no direction. My question is this: what direction do you think we're going in right now with this ludicrous bunch in charge? I see that. I see you, Dave. I see you. Alan's in Liverpool. Healey. What a charismatic figure. Why should Britain tremble? Because we see you, that's why. Tash is in Bexhill. Good morning, Tash. Hi, Jeremy. Supermarket security, I see you. We see you, but we're doing absolutely nothing about it. This was a great thing this morning told to us by Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor. She's done a really impressive investigation into Britain's growing shoplifting epidemic. She put her man, who you might have seen online before, did a thing on migrants and went into one of the migrant camps in France. Christian's his name. He went into 6 supermarkets, and basically made no secret of the fact that he was stealing stuff, up to a value of £10. He had a letter on him saying this is a social experiment, there are cameras, here is the money, and he always took the stuff back. What was really interesting is what she said to us before they see the clip. She said that of the 6 supermarkets, not one of them confronted him, although they saw what he was doing. And when he came back in and sort of explained to security guards, they were like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. I think this is really frightening. In a tick, Harry Miller. But just watch this clip, which from a fantastic piece of talk work that you can see online on our YouTube channel right now. Take it away.
Tesco, third time lucky. I took some cereal bars. I took a few other bits and bobs from that same aisle. And I walked straight out the front door, straight through the barrier, past the security guard. And I wasn't stopped again. I did, however, go back in to speak to this security guard. Hi, mate. I'm just letting you know, I'm just basically doing a social experiment. So I've just nicked a load of stuff. I'm going to go and put it back now, yeah? So I'll put the envelope there with the money in, yeah? All right. And now I'll put the stuff back. All right. Yeah? Okay. Cheers, mate. He just said it's almost impossible to stop. He said even when we do catch them, we can't call the police because the police don't do anything. It's absolutely pointless. The police don't even turn up.
Please do watch that investigation on our YouTube channel. Isabel Oakeshott, fantastic piece of work. We say go on to Harry Miller, former police officer and founder of Fair Cop. Before I bring him on, we need to read a statement. This is really interesting. So we approached Tesco's and said that had happened. They didn't bother to comment. Waitrose, though, which should tell you everything. There is a serious danger to life in tackling shoplifters. We refuse, as a company, to put anyone's life at risk, and that's why we have policies in place that are very clearly understood and must be strictly followed. As a responsible employer, we never want to be in a position where we are notifying families of a tragedy because someone tried to stop a theft. Nothing we sell is worth risking lives for. Harry Miller, what do you make of that statement?
Well, we might as well just put up the white flag of surrender, hadn't we? As far as shops are concerned, as far as chief constables are concerned, shoplifting is just shopping by other means. It's just as legitimate as putting stuff in your basket and taking it to the checkout, if there is a checkout person there, of course, and paying for it. It's just an alternative way of doing it. It costs our economy an absolute fortune. Official figures say it costs us around about 2.2 billion. But then if you then factor in the fact that over 50% of shoplifting thefts are not recorded, you can probably double that to about 4 billion quid. That's what it's costing. So you and I, Jeremy, when we go in and we pay for our Mars bars and our packets of cornflakes, we not only pay for the price of the cornflakes, we also pay the price of the person that's taken the cornflakes for free.
I couldn't agree more. And I mean, I look at the Waitrose thing. I understand, but to me that typifies where we're at as a country, because it says, quite rightly, before a do-gooder jumps up and down, we don't ever want to put one of our employees in a position where they're unsafe. Of course we don't. But what you are propagating as a result of that is almost, well, it's social carnage. You are saying, you know what? It's OK, come into our store and nick whatever. We've increased the prices to screw the people who do it correctly because we don't want any trouble. Why would these supermarkets not take or be allowed to employ people who actually would make a difference? To me, it's synonymous with everything that's wrong with this country. We tend, I think, to not go for the people who commit crime. We instead seem to make some bloody excuse for them, and it's so frustrating, isn't it, Harry?
That's absolutely right. We need to get back our moral backbone. Well, I'll tell you what frustrates me, Jeremy, is when you see on cop shows and things like that, you see police officers talking to people that they've locked up as though they're sort of just on the other side, as though they're part of the same industry. When they start referring to thieves as, hello, mate, you know, we don't like to be doing this, but, you know, we've got to do this. No, they're not your mate. They're not your mate. I want to see police officers projecting the moral superiority that there is with those of us who keep the law.
Why do we not have that anymore? Peter Blexley always tells me that's because from the very top they're obsessed with DEI and they're apologists, and it isn't the fault of the men and women on the floor, on the ground, doing their jobs. It comes from above, and I think he's dead right, don't you?
He's absolutely right. You know, you lock somebody up, they're not prisoners. What they are is clients and customers and guests. No, absolutely not. I think if you're locked up, there's a fair chance that you're guilty of a crime. And I want the police officers to respect your human rights, not to be cruel to you, but I do expect them to give you the eyeball, the morally superior eyeball, and make you feel as though you've done something wrong, not to treat you as though you just got unlucky, mate. You just got unlucky. You know, we're just doing our job. You'll be out short and you'll be able to go back and we'll see you next week.
Do you know what I always think when I'm listening to somebody like you and I talk? You know, listen, we had a good upbringing, but it was hard, right? The old man had rules and there were boundaries, and if you broke the boundaries, there were consequences, and that happened for generations. Now, no parent tells a child off, no teacher dare raise his voice, no policeman dare arrest anybody. I fear it is moral fabric, actually, and that sort of, you know, being able to say this is right, this is wrong, you've done wrong. Don't give me I'm feeling anxious because I'm criticising you, or there's something wrong with my mental health. You've done wrong, and the consequences of this, and hopefully you'll learn from it and you won't do it again. That's what I don't get. And we've become, I've said this again and again, we've become apologists for bad behaviour.
Yeah, we just excuse it. We just excuse it. I want to look forward to the time, again, when people who've done something wrong are actually afraid of police officers, not because a police officer...
But what hope have we got? It's not called a police force, because that was disrespectful, and force meant you might be attacked. Isn't that right? We don't... Didn't they change...
Yeah, we're now a police service, not a police force, because police force is too aggressive. Well, quite honestly, I want our police officers to have a little bit of aggression about them. We had the ridiculous situation a few weeks ago where a custody sergeant was fired because a prisoner who was kicking off in the custody suite, he reprimanded him and he sat on him to calm him down. The custody sergeant, got fired for that because apparently there is no excuse whatsoever under any circumstance for using physical force against one of these nutters. Well, the people that come out with this nonsense are just flat wrong. So we end up with the police force that we deserve. We need chief constables. We need PCCs to get a moral backbone and stop seeing criminals are simply people who are engaged in an alternative lifestyle. No, these people have made reprehensible choices, and we need to bring down the moral judgment upon them prior to them going before a court and getting thrown in jail. That's what needs to happen, Jeremy.
Good man. Listen, I'm in a hurry, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. You can come on whenever. You are absolutely spot on. Harry, mate, thank you. Have a great weekend. Harry Miller, former police officer and founder of Fair Cop. You know this Healy thing? We see you. This is brilliant. Darren in Bedford. I've just said to my cat, Luna, I see you. She's given me the death stare and walked out through the cat flap. Ian says, at least we now know that Specsavers are doing a good job. We see you. But my favourite one so far as we head to Glyn is Craig in Staffordshire, who says, to the squirrel in my garden, chewing on my nuts. I see you. Morning, Glyn.
Hiya, Jeremy. We're not listening to you on the radio. We're watching you on YouTube. So we see you.
current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up. I'm trying to record something. Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, Alex. And just to tick, Martin, has anyone asked why the shops are wasting money on security that do nothing? Get rid and lower the prices. It's a mad, mad world, isn't it? Suze, I worked in retail on and off for 40 years and observed hundreds of shoplifting incidents where there has been physical tussles. The police came, they arrested the thieves. Not one loss of life. Pathetic management, soft as whatever. Richard W.S. I don't know what Richard W.S. means. Maybe he's in he's in West Yorkshire. Well, why is W.S.? I think that if Healy actually did anything against the Russians, he would probably end up in ICU. See what I did there? Do you see what he did? Do you see what he did there? Yeah, good. Terry in Islington, who's known as Teeps. That's weird. What is the purpose of security staff if not to deal with wrong-uns? Might as well make all of them redundant and save the money. Absolute madness. Michael Powell. Mick here from Dorset, all right? Waitrose allow their staff to drive lorries, travel to meetings in cars, climb ladders, and all these are at risk. So what are they talking about? Morning, Jez. Instead of playing peekaboo with Russian ships, says Paul in Kent, we should board and seize these ships. Then at least we'd have one that works. We could nick one. Let's nick a Russian ship. I'm joking. This is terrible from Mark in Selby. Jeremy to Prince Harry's bald spot, camouflaged by wafting ginger hair. We see you. It's just... Thank you, Tommy. Morning, JK. If these supermarkets are telling security guards not to challenge shoplifters, why in the name of God, says Bill in Romsey, do they even bother having supermarkets? Morning, Jez. Interesting article on shoplifting. Having worked in the retail sector some years ago, I would be very interested due to the amount of goods being nicked. This must play havoc on stores restocking as the items don't show up on the till. The supermarkets must have more money than sense. That sounded a bit deep. To all the thieves, Teresa, to all the thieves I've loved before. I'm joking. What makes me wonder is if we can sanction these people's benefits if they miss a job centre appointment, then we can bloody well sanction their benefits every time they're caught shoplifting. We may not be able to put these people in prison, but to take away their benefits is a deterrent. We're not going to say, Teresa, of course, that everybody who shoplifts is on benefits. That's a really important point to make. But there is surely a way. I mean, even people who do, if you're convicted, maybe if they've no money or they can't pay, I don't know, take it out of... It's a difficult one, but essentially, why are we allowing people, right? Why are we allowing people to behave in this way? Jez, re-shoplifting. Supermarkets ain't bothered. They just put on everything in the shop, so alarm clock Brits end up paying as ever. Don's in Chelmsford. Jez, I wonder how much the supermarkets add to their prices to cover shoplifting crisis. Andrew in Grimsby. Just heard the great work from Isabel on shoplifting, something to be mindful of, that it's not theft until they leave the store. It's about intent. Michael, in EC1, this country's a joke, mate. I got in debt over £1,000 years ago because they didn't pay my wages for 2 months in the Virgin Gym. Why are there no consequences for huge debt? Come on, you hammers. 4 minutes to 10 o'clock. I'd like to tell you that Ian Collins, the legend, is in for me for the next couple of weeks. I am going on a family holiday with my children. Hope that's all right for all the people who say I'm always on holiday. I'm not, actually, but I'm off with my children, which will be absolutely knackering, and I'll be desperate to come back to work after one day. A picture of beauty as she strides into Studio One. Alex Phillips, how are you?
I'm all right. Where are you going?
Sorry? I don't want to talk about it. Well, I'll tell you exactly the truth. I'm going back to Euro Disney because I took the kids... I hate it. I'm just being honest. I took the kids to Euro Disney. On the last night, Oliver was a pain in the backside, and I didn't allow him to see the main, what's it called, parade, because it was bad.
Right.
And he cried, and I taught him a lesson. Boundaries and consequences. By the way, when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, everything I've said this morning, you'll realise I'm a fraud. The following morning on the way back to the airport, I said, did you enjoy himself? He burst into tears, and I went, I'll take you back in April. And my wife went, you are just the worst father in the world. I'm just being honest, because a bit of honesty doesn't ever go on.
Oh, I bet the queuing thing's going to tick you off.
The what?
Queuing.
Do I look like I'm going to queue?
What are you going to do? You're going to use sort of special privileges. Do you know who I am?
Absolutely, mate.
Get your rainbow lanyard out or whatever it is.
My rainbow lanyard,
Get to the front.
You can see me with a rainbow lanyard. How are you, sweet? Anyway.
I'm okay. I'm recovering from this blooming cold.
I see you, John Healey. I see you. Have you not heard this?
I see you too.
No, but have you heard John Healey say to Vladimir Putin, I see you?
They're weird. They're all weird in that cabinet. He was the one that I thought wasn't
There's a bloody
weird.
great Russian ship in the water.
I know.
I can see
and
it too.
They're told not to go and intercept it. I mean, the Russians are sending in their submarines. They're sending in their illegal...
We've had lots of people phoning up saying, I've just seen the spider on my ceiling. I see you. It's been good fun. What you got coming up?
Well, we're talking about everything that you've been talking about, really. It's very quiet news day, isn't it? But what is going on?
No.
Do you not think?
No, they're completely gone for this I see you, but honestly, they're just having a load of fun.
ICU, isn't that a department in hospital?
Very good. I thought the Starmer thing would fly. About 66% of people in this country don't want him in power. I want to know where the other 33 are.
Are we surprised?
No.
But also, you know, when's a ceasefire, not a ceasefire? What's